The session was held in Belfast to discuss the fallout from a High Court judgment which ruled that 2 junior officers were unlawfully disciplined for making an arrest at a Troubles commemoration event in 2021. Mr Byrne arrived with other senior officers at midday yesterday, but it was after 7 p.m. before he emerged from the meeting. DUP MLA and Policing Board Rep Trevor Clark once again called for the Chief Constable's resignation.
I've made my position before today. My position hasn't changed. I went into this meeting with the understanding that our view is that the Chief Constable should resign. Unfortunately, I've heard nothing today that would change my opinion on that.
UUP leader Duke Beattie is the latest politician to also call for him to step down.
It's now costing more to fill up your tank. Since midnight, the excise on motor fuel increased, adding around 7 cents to a litre of petrol and 5 cents to diesel. Sinn Féin Energy spokesperson Darren O'Rourke says the measure to ease the cost of living crisis shouldn't be changed right now.
This will have a very significant impact on motorists, and it comes at a time of record fuel prices, electricity prices, gas, food, rent crisis. We're in the middle of a cost of living crisis at a time when people do not have alternatives in terms of public transport. When those options aren't there for people, this is a punitive measure.
Meanwhile, the hospitality sector is to meet the Finance Minister next week to discuss the rise in VAT. It went up from 9% to 13.5% at midnight for restaurants, hotels and hairdressers. It means Ireland will now have the 3rd highest hospitality VAT rate in Europe. The second of the funerals following last week's crash in Clonmel will take place today. 4 young people died in the collision on Leaving Cert results night. Barry White has more.
The funeral of 24-year-old Luke McSweeney and his 18-year-old sister Grace will take place in St Peter and St Paul's Church in Clonmel at 11:30 this morning. The siblings died in a collision along with Nicole Murphy and Zoe Coffey on Leaving Cert night. Luke McSweeney had been giving his sister and her 2 friends a lift. They were going out to celebrate their Leaving Cert exam results. The funeral of Nicole Murphy took place yesterday, while the funeral of Zoe Coffey will take place tomorrow.
And to weather, a mix of cloud and sunny spells along with heavy, slow-moving showers bringing the possibility of spot flooding. Highest temperatures of 18 or 19 degrees in a light northeasterly or variable breeze. That's all for now. I'll be back with the next news update at 10 o'clock. In the meantime, you can keep up to date with local breaking news on our website, highlandradio.com. Until then, good morning.
Get laptops from $199 at Curry's. We have laptops for the future boss, all-rounder, coder or creator. Like the HP Pavilion 14-inch laptop, now only $499. Save €100. Or save €80 on the HP 14-inch laptop with Intel Core i5, now $669. Shop in-store or online at currys.ie.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 till Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's just about to turn 9:04 on this Friday, the 1st of September 2023. How you all doing? I do hope you're very well, and hopefully you're with us now for the next 3 hours in this show throughout the day on Highland Radio, of course. Lots coming up in the programme, as you heard. We've That's Entertainment between 11 and 12, including €10,000 being given away to one of our lucky listeners. But the first hour is dominated by our Friday panel. We want you involved in the conversation just before we introduce them to you. WhatsApps and text to 086 60 25,000. If you're listening outside the Republic, 00353 86 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. And a reminder for you that you can watch the programme live on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, on your smart TV, your Fire Stick, laptop, tablet or mobile phone. We're on Facebook as well, and indeed on Twitter. Okay, so all that's out of the way. Let's say good morning to our guests. Welcome back, Professor Pat O'Connor, Professor of Sociology and Social Policy, Emeritus, University of Limerick. How are you keeping?
Hello, Greg. Hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear. Have more faith. Have more faith, Pat.
You just never know.
I know. But listen, we're here. Reverend Mark Lockridge, pastor of New Life Fellowship and the Reformed Presbyterian Church. Good morning to you, Mark.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me back on.
No, it's our pleasure. And last but certainly not least, delighted to welcome onto the show for the first time Claire Ronan, presenter of Up and Running Business Show on Ocean FM and columnist as well with the Sligo Weekender, and just general contributor and opinionated person. Claire, I don't know, how would you frame yourself?
Well, there you go, an opinionated person. That's a compliment,
what I am.
Greg.
Yeah, I think it is a compliment, isn't it? I hope it is. Come here, Claire, I'll start with you. You know, we're waking up this morning to a concrete levy. We're waking up to more expensive petrol and diesel. We're waking up to more expensive groceries and generally the cost of living because of inflation. There's something else that's gone up today. Yes, VAT on hospitality and in restaurants and what have you. There's three of those that are in the gift of the government. Of course, inflation is inflation. But it's a peculiar move, or is it, to be introducing these increases in our everyday expenses during a cost of living crisis. Can you make sense of the decision?
No, I really can't. And that's the honest truth. I think we might start seeing some more positivity coming nearer the election. I think the budget may be a little bit of a giveaway budget, but they're going to be looking for votes. They're going to be knocking on our doors. And as you see, Greg, probably as much, if not more than me, people are really cut to the pin of their collars, if that's the correct expression. September for families is a really, really difficult month because you have to get all the children back to school. And that in itself caused huge problems at the beginning or the middle of August when people were buying. So even more added onto that. I have a friend who told me recently that her mortgage has gone up €400 a month and her shopping has gone up €400 a month. And both she and her husband had taken a cut during COVID and still haven't had their salaries recompensed. So, you know, there's a 16 billion surplus. We're supposed to be loaded with money. And yet the person out on the street doesn't seem to be feeling the effects of that.
Are these moves to try and address inflation internally then? Because, you know, the bottom line is how do you deal with inflation? You make it more difficult for people to live. You know, that's and the mortgage interest rates probably aren't going to have the effect because I think it's about 63% of the Irish population with a mortgage have fixed rates. So if you're trying to suppress inflation, maybe mortgage rates increases aren't the best way to do it. If that's what they're trying to do, I think people would appreciate being told that's what they're trying to do instead of framing it that, you know, the petrol and diesel has to go up because it's locked in. It's only locked in, like I locked in coming to work today, but I could have stayed on in bed as well.
And I was actually shocked that they increased the VAT for the hospitality and for the hairdressers. I thought, now normally, you know, you'd hear on every radio station and you'd see in all the papers the objections to it, but I can't believe that it actually happened. Now, one thing that I did see recently that I thought I was impressed with was the increase in the bank levy to, say, the banks that were handling all the distressed funds. They should be paying more. How much that will contribute, I don't know, but everything is worth getting. I don't know, is this their way of handling inflation? Is there a clever way of doing everything? But what I do know, Greg, and you know it too, is that people are suffering and that's not good. And I think restaurants, you know, we hear it all the time. Restaurants have been suffering in the Northwest because of the lack of beds and people aren't coming to stay in Donegal and Sligo and Leitrim as much as they were. And now with the VAT rate going up, I think there'll be a lot of doors closing. And I think that's more people under pressure. Yeah, because even a restaurateur sat opposite me, and he is also a consumer as well as a service provider. There comes a point when a main course is too much or a starter is too much or the cost of lunch is too much. And you start going out, if you do go out regularly, once or twice a month, you start going out on a Christmas, or not on Christmas, but on a birthday or anniversary. Professor Pat O'Connor, can you see, and again, I would love, although it might not be possible for someone to say, yes, it's a great move, but can you see any logic to VAT going up for the cost of getting your hair cut, going out for something to eat, staying in a hotel, filling your car with petrol or diesel, building a house if you're buying concrete, for crying out loud? First-time buyers are faced with extra bills. It's unbelievable stuff. But anyway, Pat, what do you think?
I think that, yes, there's a huge problem. I suppose I do feel that the hoteliers have kind of spoilt it for a lot of people. That that the actual cost of getting overnight stay in Dublin, like you don't want to own the bed, you just want to sleep in it, really, it has gone beyond a joke. And there seems to be no way of actually curtailing that. I'm sick of listening to the reps for the hoteliers coming out and saying, well, on average and other than on special occasions, etc., etc. But to be honest, every weekend in Dublin can be portrayed as a special occasion. So, and you have to remember the Dáil is sitting in Dublin. So obviously, some people are having to, who don't have their own accommodation, some of the TDs are acutely aware of the hoteliers' greed. But I think in a way, like doing things like increasing it on the price of diesel and petrol, this is completely mad and unintelligible. This business that the petrol and diesel was bought ahead. Like, the funny thing is that the prices seem able to rise at a fixed time very fast, but they can never seem to fall quite so quickly. It doesn't make sense. Equally, like the hairdressers, jeepers, I thought. Already, like we pay an extortionate amount to get our hair cut, not mind to get anything else done. For many people, not for me, this is a kind of a really important event in the week. So increasing that, in a way, it's putting pressure on a very, very small luxury.
Do you feel particularly sympathetic towards restaurants? Because, obviously we know our hotels here, and people will have one-off stories about weekend rates, but generally speaking, I think there's better value to be had across the Northwest in hotels. But there is definitely some gouging that's been going on in the cities. I kind of feel sorry for restaurants, and I think maybe they could have done more to try and decouple them from the accommodation VAT, because that, as you quite rightly pointed out, this is to punish the big hotels in Dublin, and you've got restaurants and cafes around the Northwest who you can still get a breakfast for $9.50. It's punishing them. It's terrible.
Well, you see, the difficulty with the Northwest is getting there, and that's the petrol and diesel problem, that it is the cost of travelling there. But I am surprised that the restaurants haven't tried to decouple. I suppose what is also partly the Airbnb issue and the lack of enforcement of that has played into the whole frustration with accommodation. But the restaurants seem to have made no attempt to decouple.
Well, you see, the problem is they, and it's not a problem, but perhaps a reality is they seem to be represented by one person on Twitter who's on News Talk now and again, and Adrian Cummins is the gentleman's name, and I'm sure he's trying his darndest, don't get me wrong, but it is not a powerful enough lobby to have the one voice, because what happens is then shows don't book him because we had him on Monday and we can't have him on a Thursday. You know what I mean? It's not, if I were giving them marketing advice, it's not the best approach, and that's not a criticism of him, it's just in terms of getting the message out there. Reverend Mark Lockridge, can you say any logic to any of the announcements today?
No, I think logic seems to be in some ways sadly lacking. We have this cost of living crisis. We have the timing seems poor in terms of the cost of living crisis, in terms of people going back to school, and the sheer burden on families. But then you add in, we have a housing crisis, and we have people coming to university in towns where there isn't accommodation for them. We've got, I've so many people who've been contacting me at various times in the last year to find accommodation in not even simply in Donegal, but people from the continent coming to study here, looking for accommodation in Limerick or Cork. And then we're putting a levy that's going to impact the building of new accommodation. Instead of making it easier, we're making the whole thing harder to provide accommodation, to provide housing. It is hard to get your head around unless it's look at all these terrible taxes, and then as Claire said, look how kind we are when it comes to election time. see what we've done, see what we've given you, as if they're banking on our short-term memory.
Yeah, but I don't think the electorate are going to swallow that anymore. I don't think. I think there's a far more of awareness. But Mark, and just in a reference to what Claire said about this rainy day fund, 16 billion and counting. Okay, I mean we heard what's happening in CALMS at the moment, mental health services for young people. We know what's happening in our hospitals. We know what's happening with An Garda Síochána and so on and so forth. Like, if this is not a rainy day whereby we spend the money that we have in a targeted way to try and improve the lives of people, to try and lift more people out of poverty and children out of poverty, if it's not bad now, like, you do wonder, is it World War III that they're holding on to this money for, or what is it? Now, Sinn Féin may well be in power in the next government and may very well decide that that's the right way to go and to sustain it for reasons I don't understand. So I'm not saying this is necessarily a Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael thing, but they're the party in power with the Greens, the parties in power with the Greens. So, like, you do wonder, what are we holding on to this money for, Mark, if it's not to help people right now?
I think there is something profoundly immoral in having money set aside and not using it. Over the centuries, that's sort of been the ideal, that those who had were to help those who have not. And if the government has, and they have, particularly when they have because people have given through taxes and so on, it is their moral obligation and responsibility to provide care for the nation. And yes, if this isn't a rainy day, what is?
I mean, yeah, of course, this is multinational tax and all that kind of stuff, but it's the people of Ireland that are working in these companies that are making them powerful and successful. Now, of course, some of it just passes through here. But Claire, I'll put the same question to you, and it's a genuine question that I'd ask off air. It's not loaded in any way other than it is predisposed to being loaded. What are we waiting for? We are still writing down our debt to some extent still. We've increased in that regard. But what is this pot of cash for? Like, can any of us imagine us having, 100 grand in the bank and our children in the house starving and unclothed?
I think that if you were to get a politician on, they will come up with some long, convoluted, hard to understand reason why this can't be used for the ordinary public. And there has been great speculation in the media, and I'm sure you've covered it on your own show a lot, about what they should do with the 16 billion, including putting a track out to Dublin Airport in Dublin and all these wonderful plans that don't include the Northwest that I ever hear about, except on your show maybe. I think the government have a problem, and I think you could be very right. I think there could be a situation where we find ourselves with a new party in power after the next election, because people are sick to the back teeth. And as you said earlier, the big problem here is communication. Greg, if somebody came out and explained to us, and that we didn't have to have this conversation, and told us, right, this is the money and this is what we are doing with it, in simple, clear language, we wouldn't have the people as upset or as disappointed as they are. The government are losing people's trust. Okay. And it's not good.
All right, before we take a break, Pat, I just want to put it to you, both Claire and Mark referenced, maybe giveaway budgets, but we have surveys and we have the sense of the people on shows like this. The public would prefer money invested in improving services rather than an extra €1,000 in your back pocket or €2,000 in back. That is the will of the people. So I don't know, unless that's what they're going to give away in a budget, they really don't have their finger on the pulse, I'd suggest, Pat.
Yes, absolutely. I suppose there has always been the historical kind of economic argument that soft money should be spent on ongoing expenditure, that it should be spent on infrastructural projects, right? And we get a little bit of that on the media, but not really spelt out. But mostly what the government, it seems to me, are doing are giving a series of individual explanations. So CAMS, for example, is explained we can't get the people. The Gardaí is explained why we can't get the people. a series of individual explanations. But what irritates me is that, the reason we can't get the people is because the working conditions and the salaries aren't good enough. And I suppose what I also think is very ironical, that there is no question of anybody at the top being sacked because they can't get the people. The only person it appears that anyone is willing to give the push to is Vera Pauw, Hello? The whole thing is just, it's almost comic.
But do you know what you talk about infrastructural? They talk of, and I get that. So you spend on, you don't want really to lock into the long term, short term money, i.e. this windfall money from. But let's not talk about infrastructure then as bricks and mortar. Let's talk about infrastructure of building a proper health service. And then discover how we fund it from general taxation to the future. Build a proper mental health service. Let's call that infrastructure and not worry about roads.
Exactly. But I have never managed to get agreement on that point. And it is just a coincidence that most of the infrastructure that we should be building around people, health, mental health, childcare, education, all of those involve predominantly female staff. So I kind of think, well, isn't that a coincidence? Whereas building golf courses, cars,
Viagra,
blow me, that's jobs for very important jobs for men. But childcare, oh no, that's, we've been promised a Scandinavian childcare model for 15 years, right?
And your opinion on childcare is backed up by a study this week which shows that women, primarily who are the carers still, and it's not always the case, but primarily are not able to go to work. They're literally stuck in the house because they cannot get because of childcare, because of the crisis in childcare. Okay, listen, we could go on that subject forever. Claire Ronan, thank you so much. Professor Pat O'Connor, Reverend Mark Lockridge. More from our guests after this quick break.
Looking for the best staycation ever? Well, you're in luck. We teamed up with Vulture Ireland and asked the public what their favourite staycation activities are in Sligo, and they didn't disappoint. Call and text that there is such amazing history on display at Drumcliff Church. It's well worth a day out. Betty said she loved her day with the sheepdogs at Atlantic Sheepdogs. It was such a unique experience. And Owen texted to say the Sligo Folk Park was a wonderful experience and perfect for anyone interested in Irish history. Deirdre said her husband loved their day in Strandhill. He went surfing with Atlantic Surf School and used the amazing new facilities at the National Surf Centre. And she relaxed in the yoga seaweed baths, while Aoife said her kids loved the half-day sea safari with Enniscrone boat tours, learning about the birds and wildlife. Plan your best vacation ever at discoverireland.ie and experience the feeling of a holiday all in one day.
Tá mudna in ESB Networks ag gobar lena chintu go bhfuil síl glán letrach in ándún go léir in éidean. Agus mar chud san chlór náisiúnta an méadrú cliste, tá méadid cliste letrachis á sitsálinis agan i de cheantar. A bhuichas is beag billa measta a dheofatú. Cáir se leat súla chuineal ar an méad letrachis a úsáidin tú ar bhealach níos fearr, agus ba fáil agad ar thorgaí agus seirbhísí cliste. Déanam it sangó leat rih hitsal de véidir. Tá tilla ólis le fáil ag esbnetworks.ie/smart meter.
The Donegal Cheviot and Cheviot Cross Breeders Group will hold their annual sale of Cheviots, Cheviot Mules, Suffolk Cross Cheviots and Cheviot Cross Blackface Hogged Ewes and Ewe Lambs on Friday the 1st of September at Stranorlar Mart. Sale is at 6 p.m. The sales will also be online on the Mart I app. This ad is kindly sponsored by Lynch Brothers Northwest Plant Hire Limited, Buncrana.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It's 24 minutes past 9. Our guests are Reverend Mark Lockridge, pastor at New Life Fellowship and Milford Reformed Presbyterian Church, Claire Ronan, presenter of Up and Running Business podcast / show and columnist with the Sligo Weekender, and Professor Pat O'Connor, professor of sociology and social policy. Emeritus, University of Limerick. It's a word, emeritus, that I actually struggle with, and I'm about 50. If that was the $1 million question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I would actually take the 500 grand on how I just pronounced that. But anyway, be that as it may. I'll stay with you, Professor O'Connor, if that's okay. Should it? And if it should, when should gender identity be taught in schools? Going through the new curriculum there's quite a bit on it. In 5th and 6th class in national school, is that too early? Is that the right time to start talking about these things?
Well, it seems to me that I'm going to take a side angle on this. It seems to me the underlying problem is othering, to call it. Do you know what I mean? That we look at people, children look at people, but adults particularly look at people and focus on their differences, right? Whether those are gender or colour or race or ethnicity or disability or whatever. And in a way, this causes a lot of problems reflected in bullying, isolation, marginalisation, mental health. And so I think that one of the key things that should be being done, and is being done in some schools, but not in all, that the things that should be done is focusing on diluting this otherness, right? So, for example, in the case of gender, I'm aware of the fact that some schools don't do this, but a lot of schools still line up the boys against the girls and effectively reinforce a binary construction of gender. And from that comes ideas about who is best, who is superior, but also embedded in it is a very rigid construction of what it is to be a boy and what it is to be a girl. So boys don't wear pink, boys like tech trucks, boys play football, girls don't do X, Y, and Z. There's greater latitude for girls, ironically, but not in terms of, often in terms of once you come to 6th, whatever, in terms of who's best, right? So my approach would be much more lateral in the sense of really toughening up on school curricula and school policies on bullying and enforcing them and deconstructing the whole what it is to be a boy or girl and stopping the practice of actually reinforcing a binary construction, i.e. that these are the boys and these are the girls, and they are two ends of a spectrum.
Yeah, but that's sort of trying to make us all the same. Everyone's different, but your identity is individual, and people want to be seen as for who they are. And it's easy, I suppose, if you're in the majority to sort of say, right, look, we're all kind of the same, so we'll not really talk. But that doesn't give a person their identity.
Well, that you're saying exactly the point I'm making, but more long-windedly, that your identity is individual, right? Whereas, in fact, we've got locked into the idea that, that gender is a key marker. And in fact, one of the things that is ironic about the whole trans debate is that they're reinforcing binaries. They're reinforcing basically the distinction between male and female. I think that is not helpful.
Okay.
And actually focusing on all the things, like we don't think, just because you're tall, here's the tall, or you're fat, or you're old, or you're grey hair, you're red haired, or whatever, that from this comes all sorts of things. These are all part of our identity. But in a way, like, it's an individual thing, yes, but we have actually turned it into a collective thing, which it has from which.
So that sort of means then. So that would mean too, and I'll bring our other guests in, of course, in a moment too. That means sort of really an end to women's campaigning for equality, for an example, or that kind of brings to an end people of colours, because. The starting point would be, look at, we're all the same, calm down, everyone. So how do people then, how do we then encourage more women to get into STEM subjects in the environment that you described? Because that would be...
No, well, actually, one of the key things about actually changing the position of women in society is that men must take that burden. And part of the problem that why we have made so little advance over such, well, it seems to me relatively, like during my lifetime, yes, we have made advances, but we could have done much better if men had actually, focused on their daughters and their wives, their mothers, their lovers, I don't care who, but had actually taken the issue, the burden. Equally, we would have made a lot more progress on poverty if the rich had done a little more.
Right. I'm going to ask you the original question, if that's okay, Claire, because I don't want. And you can talk to Professor O'Connor's points if you so wish, but just to the specific question, like, do you believe gender identity should be taught in schools, and at what age do you believe that should start, Claire?
I do believe, actually, I've been thinking about this, that gender identity should be taught in schools simply because it's a professional teaching the children as such. I think I would say 16, but I do realise that I'm not being realistic and that it probably should be about 12 or 13 when they hit puberty. I always worry that, I have 5 children now, they're all grown up now, but I would be very concerned about a child attending a school who has questions about their gender, who may not feel the same as everybody else. And at least if there was a professional person coming in and talking to them about a topic, even if it's only one child in the whole school, that it normalises it for a start. And also it might answer some of their questions.
But just in relation to that, Claire, as a counterpoint, you talked about it maybe being one in a school, but this is, as you say, just as people are hitting puberty, do we not have to make sure, and I'm not sure we are doing so, and I don't have a position on this, I just, children, their well-being would be my priority. Do we not have to make sure that we aren't throwing a spanner in the works for children who are maybe already struggling for identity, the way we have different hormones that peak in guys and girls at that time, that we're sort of saying that, a lot of stages that we all went through to say, well, that actually could be you being this. So in our efforts to sort of, as we must, protect that one child, do we not need to maybe make sure that we're not creating problems for a greater number of children? And I'm not saying we would, but I'm just wondering, has that been properly analysed before we take this really quite significant leap in teaching this in 5th and 6th classes? What's your view on that?
Honestly, Greg, I don't remember anyone I knew growing up being having difficulties with identifying with their gender. I mean, it wasn't spoken about.
But when boys go through puberty, and just to be clear, many boys grow breasts temporarily.
Yeah.
That's just as an example, just to try and sort of put a line under the point I was trying to make. I don't want to happens to girls.
Actually, that's a very good way of putting it forward. And because of that, it is a good idea to have a professional person to come in and speak in a classroom. Now, I remember myself 450,000 years ago when I was in school,
stop it.
And we were allowed to write on a little piece of paper our questions that went into a box, and it was all anonymously done. And I actually distinctly remember being surprised at the level of questions and the things that people really needed the answer to. If I was to be honest, having reared 5 children, I was probably lax in this department. I didn't know. And I think that not only should the children be educated, but their parents should be educated, and the teachers, particularly the teachers, should be really well educated. I spoke to a teacher about this quite recently, and she literally had to sit down and study the pronouns, the nouns, all the different ways of addressing her pupils, so she didn't make a mistake. Because we've seen about what's happened when trouble hits at a school's door.
Yeah, of course. We'll come back to this. There's more to tease out on it. But an initial sort of input from you, Reverend Mark Lockridge.
Thank you. Yes, Greg, many ways I agree with what you're saying. My great concern is the welfare, for all of us, the welfare of the children. When and should gender identity be taught in schools? I think I've got 3 issues here. One is, I think it's based on a flawed premise. Professor O'Connor said that gender is seen as a key marker, and I think this is, I think she was stating it in a negative way, and I agree with her if that's the case. I think whenever we teach people that their identity is found in a single thing, identity is found in their gender, their identity is found in their sexuality. That is a an awful narrowing of the rich, beautiful complexity of what it is to be a human being. And it's cruel and it's diminishing. So that's my first problem with it as a concept. My second problem is that not only is it based on a wrong premise, but it's also damaging. And you alluded to this when you said that this is a time of turmoil for young people. And what we're doing is introducing at this moment a set of thoughts that we're introducing them into a confused environment. We know from studies that our sense of sexuality and our sense of gender moves around in this period of time. And so to tell people that they're to get their identity from that is to tell them to try and find their identity in something unstable. It's like telling them to jump onto a spinning roundabout.
But Mark, in relation to that, I just want to be clear. What I'm trying to do, I'm not stating an opinion here. I'm trying to create, I'm trying to sort of imagine what people listening in the cars or at work or at home might be putting through here. But the fundamental of this, the fundamental basis of this, and if people go, everyone should go through this curriculum from the start to the finish and watch the support videos as well, because lots of people comment on this stuff, but they don't actually look at the core material, and that drives me crazy. One of the support videos for this, because I did go through it all, believe it or not, one of the key support, the basis of this is that, and there's a case study of a 3-year-old, and it is accepted that a 3-year-old knows their gender. And there's one case of a boy who says, "Mummy, I'm a boy on the outside and I'm a girl on the inside." Now, it could be reversed because I'm going off memory here. So it is not just, that is the basis of the decision-making process to say that, right, we need to start talking about this to 5th and 6th classes, just to put a bit further context into it. So you don't accept that then? I presume, Mark, you wouldn't accept that.
I think what we need to do is we need to deal with things at a biological and a physiological level, yes, but there is an ideological level that's going on here that I think is profoundly untested, untried, and the results are only beginning to trickle in. And what we found is that those who have followed this ideology through and acted on it are now coming back and saying, actually, why did nobody ever ask me about all these other underlying issues in my life that led me to take these decisions? And rather than, in a sense, there being some sort of, whenever something becomes raised like this and popularized like this, if I remember correctly, the stats for gender dysphoria, actual gender dysphoria, are 1 in 30,000. That's small, and yet and that's not to minimize the anguish that people go through.
But there are statistics from the United States that shows I think it's 35% of students class themselves in the LGBT plus. But I also have to be very conscious, Mark and Claire and Pat, and jump in as you see fit here, that if I were a trans person listening to this conversation now, I might feel that I am being scrubbed out, that I'm not being not from Claire particularly or Pat perhaps, but I'm not.
Let
me finish the proposition first. That I'm being. It's as if I do not exist. That I am the result of some sort of mental health issue that wasn't picked up. That I don't exist. That I am not me. That I'm not who I am. That God did not create me like I believe He did. If they have a faith, for an example, I think we have to be really careful in our language as well. Whilst we do this and ensure we move forward best, that we don't casually
indeed
talk as if people don't exist.
Let me come to that, Greg, if I may. What I'd be wanting to say, and I do have friends who are transgender, and what I would be wanting to say to anybody is, you see, I don't regard people as human doings, as simply the result of their identity coming from what they do. I see people as human beings made by God. So I'd be wanting to say to them, listen, my dear, dear, dear friend, you are a work of art. You are made by God. You have meaning and value and dignity that comes from God. And so I will honor you, and I will respect you, and I will love you, and I will care for you. But let me encourage you to see your body as a gift from God, to be explored and to be accepted as a gift. And why is it that we always want to... instead of we say, this is what I think, therefore I must change my body. Why don't we ever say, this is my body? Maybe I need to reconsider how I'm thinking and feeling in this. Yet we live in a world.
So you're asking people, you're asking someone to deny you're asking someone effectively to almost take it as a penance from God, it sounds like, and to deny who they believe to the very core that they are, and leap into faith and live their life as somebody else, as they might see it, Mark.
We have made, you see, from Freud onwards, somebody put it well. They said the self has been psychologized and psychology has been sexualized, and we have accepted that. I want to challenge that whole framework and say that it's not a healthy framework to grow up in. And so what you've just articulated is what people think, and yet I don't think it's profoundly helpful for them to think that.
Claire,
I want to help them step outside
you want to come in on that? Claire, maybe? You look poised. Or Pat, sorry. Pat, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Claire.
No, go on. You go on.
Well, I suppose, I want to come back that the question, what does it mean to be a boy? What does it mean to be a girl? In a way, it varies by cross-culturally. So, for example, in Western society, in Ireland, we think there still is a view that girls aren't good at maths. God, in India, in Portugal, it is one of the taken for granted that girls are good at maths. So, it's the same, girls and boys, but the question, so your 3-year-old, it may well be, what does it mean to say I'm a girl on the inside? Is it because of even the clothes we wear, like the turn of the century, boys up to a certain age wore dresses. You've seen
but it's down to who you feel you are to your very core. You see, I think some people seem to be associating one's gender with the clothes that they wear or who they're intimate with. But
their interests, their lifestyle.
You woke up this morning and you knew you were a woman. You didn't necessarily do womany things, but you knew you were a woman. Claire, do you want
still have to ask the question, what does it mean? And how does that
what
vary?
You feel. It's who you are. Claire?
I would think, Pat, that my thoughts on it are, I'm just thinking of this as a mother. I have a child and my child is confused about their gender. It's gender identity. And as Greg said, a 3-year-old child who said, Mummy, I'm a boy on the outside and a girl on the inside. God made that child. You can't say.
But can we accept that, Claire? And I know where you're coming from. And to be honest with you, listening to this video that's put up with this documentation, there was 11 cases, and these were the examples. And it says, so it's proven. And the conclusion was from the lady who I should remember the name of, but I don't. But the proven off the back of that testimony of that child, I think it was stated, and I must get the clip. So it's proven that by the time you get to national school, you have a sense of your identity, or if you're trapped in the wrong body. Now, you kind of have to accept that that's the case then, to sort of say, right, let's start teaching this in national school. I would say a lot of people wouldn't accept that's the situation, Claire.
They wouldn't accept that there is such a
three-year-old,
thing
that a three-year-old could... I don't know. It's very difficult.
I think that... Sorry, go ahead, Claire.
No, I was just going to say, I honestly haven't experienced this with anyone I'm close to. I did interview a 14-year-old one day, and he told me that he was gender neutral. And when I questioned him, and I have to be honest and say that it was because of my ignorance, I wasn't quite sure how to handle the situation at 14. He did say to me, well, I've had no sexual experience. This is just me. I think I'm gender neutral. And then when I continued to question him, he had seen on social media what gender neutrality was. I left that day feeling uncomfortable because I wasn't sure if he was or if he wasn't, or had he seen something on social media and thought that it related to him.
And I think Claire and Mark wants to come in, but then we have to pray. I think this talks to what we have to make sure is that we get this right. And I think I want to be guided, and I want to know what the right thing to do is. Claire, it sounds to me very much like you do as well. And I'm sure, I think Mark's quite locked in his view, and Pat can outline hers. I want to be guided because I want to make sure that the children are best cared for. Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, my view isn't locked in terms of well, look, accept my view or take the high road. It's because I think the whole premise of the thing is dangerous and harmful and restricting and narrowing and confusing and untested. And as we're watching the results coming in, yes, a 3-year-old can think that. And as Professor O'Connor points out, what has led them to consider what a boy is and what a girl is? And then there's the 14-year-old and the impact of social media. And, whenever we're teenagers, we're confused about everything. And I'd mean that with, I was a teenager, deeply confused about a lot of things and not knowing who I was and wanting to find out. And I'm just glad that this element of greater confusion wasn't thrown into the mix for me.
Yeah, because when we are teenagers, we and again, I would like to, and I'm definitely going to make sure, and if there's anyone who wants to advocate in a different way, please come on and we'll have a very respectful conversation where you can explain where we might not be wrong or not. But as again, going back to my childhood, and this is why I need education. You kind of join gangs and groups and mods and Teds and goths and all that kind of stuff because you wanted to belong to, you wanted to belong to something. Maybe this is much more deeper than that, and I have a severe lack of understanding, which I'm really, really open to be educated on. Pat, do you want the last 30 seconds before we cut to a break?
I mean, in a way, I want a world where if you're a boy and you're interested in sewing and frilly dresses, no problem. I want a world where if you want to hang around with girls and you're a boy, no problem. If you're a girl and you want to play football, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that was seen as, oh my God, you had an identity problem. You join the boys. If you want to climb trees, go to the Antarctica, no problem. In a way, I want a world where there's a more relaxed attitude, and it's not effectively, we're not locking people into what I regard as 1950s versions of femininity and masculinity.
Because it is a big step for this to become part of the curriculum. Like we are taking a huge step, and we said in a previous conversation that a lot of this was formulated really when the country's actually changed a little bit. I think it went very far through, and we're seeing what's happening in sports and different things where there's a bit of a pulling back and stuff, but this was all formulated really when we went further than we're going now. But anyway, it's going to be taught to 5th and 6th class. It's not horrendous commentary or information, and maybe us adults need to give our young people a little bit of credit as to what information they already know, and this actually just makes it make sense for them. We have to be careful with that too, don't we? I mean, we're all talking historically here from our own experiences, but I know my kids have got friends that are all different types of people. Let me put it like that there, and to them they're all equal.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great, and which is what we want.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Back with more shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
The sounds of laughter, the words of a friend, your favorite song. Sounds mean so much to us, and our world grows smaller if we experience hearing loss. At Hidden Hearing, you can trust our expert audiologists to help, with a no-quibble 90-day money-back guarantee to ensure peace of mind. Visit www.hiddenhearing.ie or call 1850 21 44 88. Hidden Hearing. Life is worth hearing.
On this week's Business Matters, we'll be replaying an interview with the co-owner of Donegal Bees in Glencolmkill, Thomas Ellis, that was first aired back in January. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters in association with ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. Now is the time to realise your potential by enrolling on the part-time degree in business. Only 3 years with 1 evening per week on campus and another online. Open up your future by contacting the faculty office on 9186206 or visit lyit.ie today.
Around the Northwest with Oakfest in Oakfield Park, Rafo on Saturday 9th and Sunday 10th of September. 2 days of music featuring top acts and great family entertainment. Special festival return bus available from Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
The Citroën EC4 and all new EC4X are fully electric, so that means zero exhaust emissions. Their progressive hydraulic cushion suspension means zero vibrations. Their renowned advanced comfort seating means zero discomfort. And now, their impressive finance offer means % interest rate. Book a test drive today at your local Citroën dealer and zero for yourself.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off on all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in-store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We're in the midst of the Friday panel with Reverend Mark Lockridge, Claire Ronan, Professor Pat O'Connor. And I think, Claire, it's a difficult conversation that a lot of people back out of the last one we had there, isn't it? Because no one wants to offend or upset anyone, but we want to make sure that we learn and we understand and we chart the right path. It's a toughie, isn't it? And I think particularly on social media, you can sort of see if you slightly step out one way or other, you know, there's a pile-on because, and everyone's afraid to talk about it as a result because you can be called all sorts of names depending on how someone interprets your comments. I don't think that's healthy. We have to be able to talk, Claire, don't we? And no one here has any interest in denying anyone or offending anyone. And I think we're all open to sort of learning, because we are all learning a bit, Claire, aren't we?
Well, we are. And I mean, you know, we're also learning as parents, and we're learning as aunts and uncles and broadcasters. And all these sort of topics Ireland has changed. And you alluded to this earlier, Greg, and you're right. I mean, I think what I see as Ireland has changed. People are much more open. And if I was a mother of a child who was struggling with their gender identity, I would be worried sick. And, you know, it's great that these conversations are being had and that people mightn't feel so alone, because it must be very difficult to have this in your family and try and deal with it in the best way and not say the wrong thing or not upset them. You know, there'd be a huge education. Now, actually, as you said earlier, I would like to learn more about this. Because particularly with the pronouns and the nouns and, you know, how to behave properly and use the right language. But I think it must be very difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Lots and lots of people, Professor Pat O'Connor, have decided not to pay their TV licence. RTE's down an absolute fortune. There's a 50 million hole that's probably going to have to be plugged in the budget. We were talking about rainy day funds and access for the general population. I suppose, listen, we had an announcement to the autumn schedule today, and it probably doesn't help that the shows like, you know, people travelling to Turkey to examine people getting their teeth whitened and all that kind of crack, and the amount of money that might cost. What do you think the reaction will be to the public when the government opens the purse to the tune of probably 50 odd million to support RTE, Professor?
Well, I suppose, I mean, I do think that it is annoying. The whole thing has been very annoying. But in a way, like, the annoyance goes back to, I do remember when Pat Kenny was paid 970,000, right? Anyone else remember that?
Oh, can you imagine?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah, nobody saw
Jerry Ryan was on it too, I think, and a few others. It was amazing.
Anyway, so, I mean, but in a way, I have paid my TV. I did delay for a week, right? And then I paid my own TV license because I thought, well, in a way, if they do change the rules, surely they'll give me credit for that, you know? Because you can't just pay your, you know, in a way, like say...
You had a one-week protest.
You can't sort of expect things to be applied retrospectively, you know. I basically didn't do X because I knew the government were going to change the rules next week, you know. That doesn't hold. That kind of thinking is illogical, basically, and unacceptable. So the current rule is that I do think it, you know, I did understand that, and it was very in a way good and bad of the judge who let off all these people from the penalties that they should have got for not paying their TV license, because he said with all this carry on, he was doing a minimal reinforcement. So, but I don't, you see, in a way, I think that is very healthy, kind of, to see the institutions protesting against.
Did you pay your TV license through gritted teeth?
Yeah, but I mean, in a way, of course. And I mean, I do think that the whole thing has been really badly handled. Okay. I was horrified that so little attention was paid to Deloitte's role. The internal auditors, also paid by the taxpayer, right? Who eventually woke up in 2022, but seemed to be asleep at the wheel 2017 to 2019.
Well, I also maintain the Oireachtas Media Committee have got a free pass on this as well. We actually pay their wages to keep an eye on this stuff. We don't have terribly long, only 3 minutes, so a minute and a half each. Claire, you work extensively in the independent media. You know exactly the role it plays and what have you. Do you begrudge the licence fee to RTE? And do you welcome the bailout that's due from government to the tune of 50 odd million?
Well, that's a really big question. I paid my TV licence, first of all, because I was too scared not to pay it. And I also don't want to end up in Sligo Court and on the front of the Sligo Champion. I know the Weekender might let me off. But anyway, I did pay my TV licence. Did I pay it through gritted teeth? Good question. No, I didn't, because when anything happens, we turn to the news and RTE. Yes, you're right. Some of the programming isn't the most exciting thing on the planet, and a lot of reruns. I don't think people are going to be too happy, Greg, when they see what's going to have to be paid to keep RTE going. I think, and I do contribute to a lot of programmes on RTE for which you are very badly paid. And a lot of work goes into some of the contributions that are done, and I'm delighted to do it. But there is a massive gap between what the ordinary staff are being paid and what their talent, as they call it, as you know yourself, the talent is the presenter. And that is not fair. And they need such a shaking. Now, this Kevin Bankhurst looks like he's going to do it. But can I just say one thing? I thought that taking Ryan Tubridy in front of the PAC, of him being questioned for 7 hours over and over again, of leading questions going to his agent, Noel Kelly, as which, what did you sell in Cadbury's? All that sort of thing.
There's some of it very unsavoury, I think, some of the questions.
It was horrible to watch.
An awful bit of grandstanding goes on, and I'd love to tease that out with you a little more, but we don't have time. Reverend Lockridge, 50 mil going out of the budget to RTE, it seems. It could be up to 100, could be as less as 25. But anyway, in other words, what the bottom line is if you don't pay your licence, you're going to pay the money anyway. It's just going to come out of general taxation.
Yeah, it seems that way. And I think, I was talking to a guy who works a lot with the media in the UK, and he was surprised at how much, in a sense, in Ireland, the media, and not broad brushing it completely, but by and large, the national media back the government's agenda and don't question stuff. And I think that's deeply unhealthy for a country. I think there should be a lot more questioning goes on, a lot more hard questions asked. And
but if you do that, you don't get access. You see, that's the problem. Your access gets withdrawn if the questions aren't favourable.
But the people need to learn that you've been put into power and that they have to answer questions. That's the way it is. And fair play for you asking questions, and go on ahead.
Reverend Mark Lockridge, thanks very much. Great to have you on the show as well. It's been a pleasure. Claire, you might come back. Did you enjoy it enough as to come back? You thought you got... Hey,
most certainly did. It's been a pleasure.
You thought the pay was bad in RTE. Come here. Claire, we'll chat again. Thank you so very much. And we really appreciate your time. It is greatly appreciated. And last and not least, always enjoy listening to you, Professor Pat O'Connor. Thanks for your time.
A pleasure, Greg.
Right, bye-bye. It is
the 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
At
Lidl, we've done our homework on back-to-school savings. 3 for 2 sandwich favourites means buy 3 and get the cheapest free. On quality Glensala cooked meats, tasty Rathdara cheese and fresh Connell bakery bread with Lidl Plus. And our Board B approved Irish beef mince was $4.19, now $3.35. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Due to popular demand, iMotors have extended their sale until the 30th of September with over €150,000 of reductions across all stock. This is not to be missed. At iMotors, test drive any car and enter our draw to win €1,000 cash. Yes, €1,000 to take a test drive. Ends the 30th of September. When you buy, choose one of the following offers: 12 months tax, free ceramic coating, 24 months warranty, or your first finance payment covered by us. Low finance rates available. Check our website for all T's and C's. You will not want to miss out. Visit imotors.ie for more details.
McLaughlin Fuels are seeking a sales representative to sell their manufactured smokeless fuel products throughout Ireland. Extensive travelling is a requirement, and the ideal candidate will work efficiently and independently, always with the customer in mind. For inquiries, please contact Denise at mclaughlins.ie.
Fancy a pizza? The Olive Grove Pizzeria at Smokes and Grills in Letterkenny have delicious, freshly made pizzas available every day from 1 Wednesday to Sunday to sit in or take away. Try the newest and tastiest pizza in town at the Olive Grove Pizzeria in Smokes and Grills at Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny. Call 911 3333 or see Smokes and Grills on Facebook.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. A Letterkenny councillor says he has confidence that the Minister for Agriculture will extend the slurry spreading season beyond October 1st if the weather doesn't improve. Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly wrote to Minister Charlie McConalogue following rising concerns from farmers given that the wet weather was preventing them from spreading slurry. He says land is simply too wet, which will lead to water pollution and poor fertilisation results. Councillor Kelly spoke with the Minister's office this morning.
I have been talking to the Minister's office as recently as this morning, and the Minister has made me aware that he is going to monitor this very closely. We are 4 weeks away from the deadline, and I suppose it's all weather dependent now. Should good weather come in, it may be the case that farmers will be able to get their slurry out, but the Minister has assured me, Minister Charlie McConalogue has assured me now that he is going to monitor this very closely.
The PSNI's Chief Constable says he's not resigning. Simon Byrne spoke briefly to the media following a policing board meeting in Belfast that lasted close to 7 hours. James Gould was there.
The session was held in Belfast to discuss the fallout from a High Court judgment which ruled that 2 junior officers were unlawfully disciplined for making an arrest at a Troubles commemoration event in 2021. Mr Byrne arrived with other senior officers at midday yesterday, but it was after 7 p.m. before he emerged from the meeting. DUP MLA and Policing Board Rep Trevor Clark once again called for the Chief Constable's resignation.
I've made my position before today, and my position hasn't changed. I went into this meeting with the understanding that our view is that the Chief Constable should resign. Unfortunately, I've heard nothing today that would change my opinion on that.
UUP leader Doug Beattie is the latest politician to also call for him to step down.
The funeral takes place today of Grace McSweeney and Luke McSweeney, who died in last Friday night's crash in Clonmel. The collision claimed the lives of 4 young adults. Barry White has more.
Large crowds are expected to attend the siblings' funeral in Clonmel this morning. The cortege will make its way from Mountain Road to the Quays and into the town centre, with the Mass taking place at 11:30 at St Peter and St Paul's Church on Gladstone Street. Chief celebrant will be Father Billy Meehan, parish priest of St Mary's in Clonmel, who baptised Grace and Luke and also officiated at the wedding of their parents, Paul and Bridget. Nicole Murphy was buried yesterday in Kilcash, while the funeral of Zoe Coffey takes place tomorrow.
PSNI are seeking information regarding the whereabouts of a missing Monaghan man known to travel to Derry. 23-year-old Noel Mackin is described as being 6 foot tall, of slim build, with brown hair and eyes and a pale complexion. Anyone with information is asked to get in contact with police. A photo of Noel is available on our website highlandradio.com. Another bank is bowing to political pressure and hiking its interest rates for savers. AIB has become the latest financial institution to raise its saving rates on certain products, as well as EBS savings accounts. The finance minister and opposition politicians had been calling for banks to pass on ECB rate increases to customers. AIB says it'll increase deposit rates up to 3% for regular savers and AIB fixed term accounts from the middle of this month. Business editor Joe Lynham says it's a victory for the finance minister.
I think it's a good day for Michael McGrath because he said a week ago, as you know, interest rates would be starting to go up for depositors, and now AIB, probably the largest bank in the land in retail side of things, they're raising their interest rates to 3% for the online savers. These are people who regularly save up to €1,000 a month.
Ukrainian refugees are to face living in tents again from as early as next week. The Department of Integration has confirmed tented accommodation will be provided for new arrivals fleeing the war in Ukraine. Around 650 refugees a week have arrived here from Ukraine since May 1st. The department says that despite almost 7,000 extra beds being contracted over the summer months, a significant shortfall remains, making the use of tents necessary. Looking to weather, a mix of cloud and sunny spells along with heavy, slow-moving showers bring the possibility of spot flooding. Highest temperatures of 18 or 19 degrees in light northeasterly or variable breezes. That's all for now. I'll be back with the news headlines at 11 o'clock. In the meantime, you can keep up to date with local breaking news on our website, highlandradio.com. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices this Friday morning, September 1st. The death has taken place of Mary Thornton, 34 Golf Course Road, Newton Stewart. Her remains are reposing at her late residence, with removal tomorrow morning at 10:15 for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Dregish, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family time from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Gareth Martin, Welchtown, Ballybuffet. Gareth will repose at his home today from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. with rosary at 8 o'clock. Family time from after the rosary and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass will take place tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. in the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Succor, Glenfin, with burial afterwards in Kilworra Cemetery. The Funeral Mass can be viewed live on Craig's Media Facebook page. The death has taken place of Phil Diver, Mainton J. Ardra, reposing at his late residence today from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow, going to the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House strictly private from 11 p.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Noel Bradley, 5 St Mary's Road, Buncrana. Remains will be reposing at his residence from 11 a.m. this morning. Funeral from there on Sunday afternoon at 12:15, going to St Mary's Oratory for 12:30 p.m. Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in Kilcock Cemetery. House private from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Funeral Mass can be viewed at churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Sean Diver, Coshcladdy, Bunbeg. His remains are reposing at his home with rosary at 8 p.m. nightly. House private please from after the rosary and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass will take place in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg, tomorrow at 1 p.m, followed by burial in Maharagallen Cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired to the Donegal Hospice. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has occurred in Melbourne, Australia, of James McClenaghan, formerly St Martin's Greencastle. A service to celebrate his life will take place at WD Rose Brighton, 139 Marriage Road, on Friday, September 8th, commencing at 2 p.m. A private cremation will take place. You can view the service on view.oneroomstreaming.com. The death has taken place of Annie Rattigan, ní Keane, Curlacan Craigs, County Galway, mother of retired Garda Tom Rattigan, Buncrana, reposing at St Michael's Church, Glinsk. The Mass of the Resurrection is this morning at 11 o'clock. Burial afterwards in Ballinacil Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Centra's Spanish wine sale runs until September 20th with a tempting selection of very good vinos straight from the vineyards of España. Elevate your evenings with rich Riocas, crisp Albarinos and luscious Tempranillos. This fiesta won't last forever. Find the perfect bottle, quality and value in Centra. Shop smart, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, Seamus Gunn is going to be joining us very shortly, answering your legal questions, but I'm going to give you a 1 hour warning. There's 1 hour left if you want to be in the draw to win €10,000. Around about 11:30, we will be drawing out a ticket. Someone is going to be 5 digits better off, €10,000. You can still get your tickets now, but you've got about an hour, and there has to be a sharp cut-off at 11:15 to make sure that everybody who wants a ticket is in the drum, and everything is all the dots are I'd and I's are dots and T's are crossed. So if you want to get your tickets now, you can go onto our website highlandradio.com, where you can purchase your tickets there to be in with a chance to winning that €10,000 at 11:30. It doesn't matter whether you bought your ticket first, right in the middle, or last. Everybody has an equal chance. All the tickets are thrown in. We rotate it to numerous times, so everyone has an equal chance. If you want to call and buy your ticket, 07491 25,000, but please remember you have just an hour. We will try and process. In fact, we guarantee as much as we can to do our absolute best to process anyone that wishes to purchase a ticket. So the lines are open now. They're going to be hot. 07491 25,000 if you want to buy your ticket over the phone, and we'll get to you just as soon as we can. It might require a little bit of patience. So there's your 1 hour warning. Get your tickets if you want to be in that draw. Again, thanks to Reverend Mark Lockridge, pastor at New Life Fellowship and Milford Reformed Presbyterian Church, Claire Ronan, presenter of the Up and Running Business Show and columnist with the Sligo Weekender, and Professor Pat O'Connor, Professor of Sociology and Social Policy, University of Limerick. Okay, back with more after the bingo numbers.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday, the 1st of September. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S15. It's game number 35. The numbers are 32, 28, 73, 37, 57, 54, 31, 90, 36, and finally 18. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Do you know TK Maxx is full of big brands that are always at like small prices?
Yeah, literally everyone knows that.
Oh,
Bill knows.
I know that.
Jill knows. Curtin is kids and their rather loud toys know. Even aliens know.
Take us to your big brand skincare.
So yeah, everyone knows there's no deal like a TK Maxx deal. Big brands, small prices, in store today.
Country Sundays at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny. Sunday 3rd of September, Jimmy Buckley and his band. Sunday 10th of September, David James and his band. Doors open at 8:30 with dancing from 9 till 11. Admission €15, pay at the door. B&B plus ticket only €70 per person sharing. Country Sundays at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
At Allstate, we provide flexible working options that make work for you. You can choose condensed working or a flexible start or finish time. Choose to work from home or the office whenever you want. Don't miss out on the moments that matter to you. Make work for you. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
The Donegal Down Syndrome Association's annual Churchgate collection is this weekend, Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd of September, throughout Donegal. Any contribution will be greatly appreciated.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
A caller says, why are the media following the lead of the chattering classes in their obsession on the trans issue? What about the other huge issues affecting our youth, like homelessness, unsurpassed youth mental health and suicide rates, massive student debts and emigration of our young talent, all far down the list of government priorities compared to LGBT issues? Seems this country is on a fast track to self-afflicted ruin. Well, we discuss all of those issues far more than we do the LGBT issue on this programme. Children don't need this teaching, creating more confusion into their tender lives, and I'm horrified that this is going to be taught. Again, please make sure, though, of the language that's going to be used before you're horrified. Particularly in national schools, it's good to have all the info. What is happening to school ethos and freedom of religious teaching in this country? It's being annihilated. Our constitutional rights are being ignored, denied and discredited by unproven ideologies. I think there's too much emphasis on gender identity in primary schools. I think it puts doubts in pupils' minds. OK, that's a selection of the views there. We'll get back to more of those as the morning wears on. But we're joined on the programme now by Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn and Co. Company, Letterkenny and Ramelton. Good morning, Seamus. Great to see you.
Nice to see you, Greg. How are things?
Brilliant. All the better for having you on the show. Before we get into questions, I've kind of lost track of the legal woes of President Donald Trump. What's your take on what's going on at the moment?
Yeah, it's difficult to keep up with it. I think what's quite fascinating, though, Greg, from watching it and just observing at times seeing CNN, that Donald Trump, whether we like it or not, seems to be the only news in the USA. And for maybe going forward and his plans for another term, he's keeping Joe Biden very much in the background. And the method, well, it's certainly unorthodox. Like he's facing multiple charges. I think the cumulative sum comes to about 91 in multiple different states over the last 4 months, one nearly every month, and that has all been very well ventilated. But what I find just fascinating by it is the way that he has monopolized the media, the way in which it has been portrayed. He is going and turning up to face these charges in presidential cavalcade. And he certainly has galvanized his own support. Now, whether that's going to be enough to ultimately get him over the line in November 12 months, well, that's yet to be played out. And I have my doubts about it. And against that, then, I think that while he's facing all these woes, he is still going to be in the public the domain for that entire period, and he is going to be the only show in town. Does that damage Biden? Maybe. It's hard to say, but will it get Trump over the line? And it's absolutely essential, because the woes that he's facing on the legal front are to such an extent that if they don't, well, the future could be fairly bleak. So there's an awful lot at stake. But I think if you were looking as an outsider, you would like to see somebody new and maybe fresh coming on the scene. And if the Republicans were looking at this, maybe that's the avenue they should be taking. That when Trump has galvanized his support, if he could see his way to then stepping aside and bringing on a younger candidate and handing that type of support over to them, that they could then garner some of the middle ground that he's not going to garner because of all his legal woes. And I just don't think.
I just don't think he's a voters. I can't see.
If that could happen, yeah. you would still see the Republicans a little bit of chance. If it stays the way it is, Biden v. Trump, I think that. I just don't think that Trump can win it, because the middle ground won't be there.
I don't know. I mean, even in terms of PR and communication, even the mugshot, he used the mugshot as an electioneering tool, very clearly, staring at the camera in the way that he did. I just don't see him having the character to use his platform to bring someone else through. I don't think he cares about the Republicans. I think it's Donald Trump and that's it. But that will all play out. As a person of the law, though.
Yeah, just on the mugshot, Greg, it's interesting you mentioned it, because back to the point that I've raised initially, that raised millions for his supporters and into what we call the election kitty. So I mean, it worked from that point of view. Now I don't like it, and I have grave reservations about it, as you would have, and the manner in which it is used, certainly. But from his point of view, it's all part of the same agenda. So it is, and it is playing out. And to some degree, while we don't like it and we have serious reservations about the future if this was to continue, it is bringing him nearer the mark where he's getting towards the 50%. Mm-hmm. But that's the middle ground that he has to get some support from. And this type of activity, I don't think will do that. And I agree with you that he's not likely to be looking for some younger. But if you're thinking about an ex-Republican premier or president of the country, that's the only avenue. I think that's the only game in town. But on the other side of that, if we flip the coin and we look at Biden, and he hasn't brought on, like there was a succession plan, I thought, for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I thought that was it.
Which seems to be just gone into the ether completely. Mm-hmm. And seemed a very worthy candidate. And I thought the plan was that after he'd done a term, that she would become more prominent and maybe facing into this term as their candidate. Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem to have happened either. So I think in America, there might be, if we really go back in history and you look back in the early 60s, when you've seen a very young JFK being elected, the youngest ever, it's, at a time Americans need something fresh. Think of Clinton when he came in. Think of Obama when he came in. So we're nearly at that stage now, given that these two guys have served their terms. They both have a bit of baggage. Obviously, Trump has an awful lot. And Biden, there'll be a big case about the economy and all the rest of it. And so there'll be a big play out there. And it's just getting a bit closer. Mm-hmm. And I don't like the manner in which it's been done. Yeah. But it certainly the sides are coming closer.
Just before we move on, just to a question, as a person, now things are very different in this country as they are compared to the United States, but as a person of law, I mean, you can't dispute, can you, that the courts are being politicised. They're being used to try and damage Trump. I don't think it's working. And we don't see the same sort of scrutiny on the other side of the house. Does that concern you, that something as important as the courts, the law, the judiciary are being used as political tools?
Well, I think we once touched on this before, and like one of them, I think that it's all very serious matters that he is now facing. But like I think that the one that for me is the one that I don't think there's any political emphasis or influence on at all, is the 4 counts in relation to the Washington conspiracy, because there have been hundreds already prosecuted in relation to that, and I don't think that is politically motivated at all. I think that you've seen or you've heard this week, even just hot off the press this morning, I think one of the leaders of the Proud Boys got 17 years in respect of that. So that charge against him was not politically motivated. So I don't think you can say that's the political system using that against Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. The question is, did he incite or did he conspire? Did he contribute to what happened that particular day in January 6, 21? And also, and don't lose sight of this, that 5 people either lost their lives then or just subsequently to then as a result of that. So I don't see that as being anything to do with politics at all. I think that you have to face the law and face the charges that are there and that hundreds of others have faced. And as I said, there's been sentences of 17, 18 years handed down so far. And the prosecutors were even disappointed with that because they were looking for 33 years. Hardly politics.
Okay. I bought a house with a half-acre piece of land behind it, which is 1 and 3 half acres on a site. One of the other owners has placed an electric wire to an outhouse on his site, but this wire is running along my hedge. It's a dangerous, low-lying wire with high voltage. I've been on to Gardaí, the ESB and the council, all who say it's not their responsibility. So whose responsibility is it, and how do we go about getting it removed, as the owner says he has no intention of removing it?
Well, I was going to suggest, firstly, that the first port of call is some discourse, and if that is not working, well, then he's probably going to have to go down a legal route and get in touch with his legal advisors to see where he stands. The first step I would see on it is really to get a full survey done to determine exactly the location as to which property it's on, if it is definitely on this owner's property, and then is it creating what we could call a hazard, and that may give rise to an action in trespass. It could also give rise to a title action if there's some dispute as to how long it has been there, whether the other person who's been using it has some right to it by way of an easement or otherwise. Usually overhanging wires are the responsibility of the ESB, while those around one's house and in one's house are the owner's responsibility. But I think a full survey, and then armed with that, it sounds to me like there's going to be not much alternative but to start the process rolling. And it looks like if it is assessed as a hazard, there could be health and safety issues in it. And then you're talking maybe about a circuit court action. And that would not be an expensive route to have to go down. So it's one that I think would be sensible at this juncture to look at that, look at the cost implications that are involved, and maybe get back to some discourse with the neighbour. Because remember, once if it does degenerate into litigation, that polarizes people forevermore, amen, and they still probably have to live next door to each other.
It is a civil matter.
It's a civil matter, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it would be a civil matter. I would anticipate maybe a type of an action in trespass in the circuit court, and maybe a title action. It could look for if it was creating excessive risk to people that around the area, to his family members. He could be talking about looking for an injunction, but if that hasn't happened yet and it's been there a number of years, I don't really see that on the agenda.
A few years ago, my mother and father died. They both had the will all done early, and we all knew where we stood. My mother died first. Then a few years later, my father died. But what we didn't know until 1 year after my father had passed away is that one of the family had taken him to a solicitor and the will was rewritten. Can anything be done about this? We asked all other solicitors, but no one wants to take us on.
Well, I mean, they're going to need legal representation. There's an allegation being made there that an individual has been brought along and arrangements been made. But I would have to say that if a will has been executed, it would be usual, if there was any doubt at all about the capacity of the individual, for the person taking the instructions to get a doctor's certificate that they had capacity. So that's usually the first premise you would work on if you're taking instructions. So be careful about what you say and what you might think is the situation if it cannot stand up in a court of law. The point about people taking the matter on, that's entirely up to themselves as to whom they engage or whether people are prepared to act in such circumstances or take such an action. But you are talking about a challenge to a will, and it seems to me that the implication from the way the letter or the way the query has been phrased is that it's on the basis of the testamentary capacity of the individual who made the arrangements in the first place. They do say they took them to a law office, and so I would, from the outset, be saying, well, it's likely that if they took them to see a firm of solicitors who deal in this day in, day out, that if there was any doubt about the individual's capacity, that should be checked out beforehand and the appropriate certificate obtained from the doctor, and then proceed with the instructions. If it's a case where the individuals are disappointed that one of the parents laterally changed their arrangements, that's life, unfortunately, and if that's all there is to it, they could spend an awful lot of money going through litigation with not a very good result. So they want to have solid grounds to go on in the first instance.
Seamus, what can be done in a case where the solicitor of a person selling a property is simply not moving the transaction along at all? I am the purchaser. The case is taking over a year and there doesn't seem to be any good reason.
Well, that's a matter between the representation that the vendor will have and the purchaser will have. So the purchaser has let's assume they've signed a contract. They haven't said that, by the way. So if there isn't a contract signed, there's nothing binding at the moment, and the matter could be rescinded and not proceed at all. So they haven't indicated. I'm assuming that maybe if there is a contract, there could be an issue. There can be an issue with maps. There could be an issue with title. There could be an issue with charges, mortgages. All types of matters can arise and have to be dealt with before the sale is closed. But it is one that is for dialogue between the representatives of each of the parties. I'm not going to make a call as to what or why there is a delay of 12 months, but their solicitor should be in a position, I would expect, to be able to explain to them what the issues are arising at present. This is on the assumption that there is already a contract. And if there is no contract, well, at this stage, they don't have any real footing in the matter, because you need a legally binding contract before again you're proceeding with what's called requisitions on title. And that's where issues can arise, and sometimes do, and can give rise to a delay. But it should be easily enough explained as to what the position is. So it's really up to the caller to contact their representation. They have no privity with the person that's selling it or their representation. So their own solicitor should be in a position to access that information for them.
All right. What's the story if you want to leave your farm to a trust fund so that it cannot be later sold?
Yeah, gosh. Well, the story is, first of all, I would get some, and I think it would be well advised to get some advice from a firm of accountants, and maybe it would be worth thinking about a firm that deal particularly in trusts. There will, I would expect, be tax implications for the setting up of the trust in the first instance, and then there could then be tax implications going forward depending on what the settler wants to do in respect of the trust. The point, though, that they make, which at the very outset, is that it seems that they want to restrict in some way what happens to their property in the future. And that would cause me a little bit of concern, because that can't be done for an indefinite period of time. Otherwise, it offends against a very old and ancient rule called the rule of perpetuities, which means that you can't make a settlement or set up a trust beyond the lives of the parties that are living plus 21 years. So that is in order to restrict people trying to put a hold on property and land way into the future, forevermore, amen. That was introduced, maybe about the 17th or 18th century, subject to correction, but it still stands in common law, and you'd want to be careful and alert to that if they're considering that. And I would also strongly recommend some tax advice.
All right, Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn and Company, with offices and premises in Letterkenny and Ramelton, and also online, Seamus.
Yes, I hope so, Greg. Yeah, we're still online. Yeah, gun.ie or donegalsolicitors.ie. We hope to be able to help you.
Thank you so much for your time, Seamus. Look forward to chatting to you again soon. That's Seamus Gunn, as I mentioned there. All right, back with more in a minute.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Best staycation ever. One family, 60 minutes from home, 100 acres of stunning gardens. For, what's that tree called? 30-minute family picnic before the next adventure. 7 inflatable water slides, 6 belly flops, 15 belly laughs. One incredible day. Plan your best staycation ever at discoverireland.ie and experience the feeling of a holiday all in one day. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
On this week's Business Matters, we'll be replaying an interview with the co-owner of Donegal Bees in Glencolmkill, Thomas Ellis, that was first aired back in January. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters in association with ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. Now is the time to realise your potential by enrolling on the part-time degree in business. Only 3 years with 1 evening per week on campus and another online. Open up your future by contacting the faculty office on 91 86206 or visit lyit.ie today.
Donegal Suffolk Sheep Breeders Show and Sale of Eurostar and SIS approved rams will take place this Friday, 1st of September at Rafo Mart. The show is at 6 p.m. with a sale at 7. Online bidding available via MartBids app. That's this Friday at Rafo Mart.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the made-to-measure fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365 on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie.
Okay, welcome back to the 9 till noon show. A caller says, I'm beginning to think yous aren't right in the head at all if yous are going to allow a 3-year-old to dictate to yous what about all their wee imaginary friends. He's going to tell us now that they are real. Well, it's me that brought that element of the conversation to the fore. And I'm just trying to make sure everyone is go through the documentation themselves. Maybe it's something we could link so people know what's going on. A caller says that we need to try and be more open-minded of people who are going through feelings of being in the wrong body. How can we speak from a place of knowledge without ever having experienced this? Indeed, exactly. And that also requires more analysis and understanding to make sure these people are seen, they're respected and they're supported. This topic is too confusing for young children. Let children be children. Why not teach this to parents, classes in the schools before it's unleashed on innocent children? As I say, the terminology is pretty vague. It's like the majority of people will feel that they are a boy or a girl, but some people may not feel that, and they're advised then in 5th and 6th class to speak to a teacher or an adult. It doesn't go into any specific detail in national school. A caller says, Greg, what is your independence? Why in this world should a 3-year-old know about gender? It's ridiculous. Greg, where is your independence? Again, it beggars belief. I'm trying to bring all of the information that's out there and all of the information that is being used to formulate this. I haven't adopted a position. I am literally trying to have more of an actual conversation about what is being taught, because people think stuff that's being taught is not being taught at all, and stuff that's not being taught is being taught. And then, of course, there's the reasons as to the psychological and scientific reasons that are being used to make these decisions. How in God's name, from that, can you question my independence when, as far as I'm aware, I'm the only person that I've heard in the media actually talking about the curriculum and where it's going, so that everyone knows what they're talking about and can have an informed view. But I appreciate your criticism. I accept what you have to say. Right, okay. Now, the HSC has issued a letter which reads as follows. I can't read it all. I'm writing to you in respect of the Inishowen Donegal Children's Disability Network team and its service to your child or children. Over the last 12 months, the Children's Disability Network team has been experiencing significant challenges in terms of recruitment and vacancies in the Inishowen area. Despite actively engaging with human resources and having their full support, we've been unable to recruit additional staff to fill these existing vacancies at this time. Unfortunately, these difficulties have become further compounded with additional vacancies and leave over the last few months. As a result, the CDNT will have no physiotherapist, social worker, social care worker in post come August 31st. In addition, the CDNT are experiencing significant challenges in respect of speech therapy, occupation therapy and psychology services. In response, we have to prioritise only those children with the highest degree of complexity for each of these therapies. Now, they say they appreciate that this is very concerning to you as parents, but it is a very difficult situation for parents. It goes beyond that. I want to say good morning first to Katrina. Katrina, I mean, this letter coming out, what is your situation and what are the implications of this for you and your family?
Hi, Greg. Listen, the letter is the letter. They're stated what issues they have. My job now is, right, I am one of the lucky ones, Greg. I have my diagnosis for my wee boy. There is mammies out there that start in this journey that don't have a diagnosis. I started my journey 2 years ago today. Ben started school on Wednesday, and it's hard. It's a hard journey. I'm not saying it's not hard. It is hard. But once you get into these services, they are amazing. You just, it's like I have written down here, right? Ben is Ben. That is the end all. Ben is Ben. Ben will never be defined by autism. It's a word. My child is so much more than that word. When we got in, we started speech. Ben doesn't talk. I'm his voice. And I will always be his voice until he gets his voice. There's so much support. When you get in, you get the support. But what I'm saying now is there is families out there that is not going to be able to avail of this support when there's no staff. So my question, Greg, is who's going to sort this? What can be done? When is it going to happen? Because the longer this goes on, Greg, the longer these families are going to have no help.
And what I have in front of me, which is unbelievable, Katrina, is the exact same letter, but instead of the Inishowen Donegal Children's Disability Network team, it's the East Donegal Children's Disability Network team. Now, I'm not sure if other areas, and maybe we'll find out as we go through this.
Greg. It's everywhere.
It's the exact same letter. So this is, well, I mean, there are some slight adjustments, but this is obviously now a county-wide issue.
Yeah. So Buncrana have a state-of-the-art facility up there. They are amazing, but you need to get in. So my question is, who's going to help this? What can be done? When is it going to happen? Because 2 years, we were attending them. We got Ben's diagnosis in April. Mm-hmm. Now, you see that's the time scale. That's the time scale. Now, that's what's good. That's what the people there to help. That's what staff there to help. That's what they're there to do. These people that are starting their journey or maybe are in the journey do not have this. You need a diagnosis before you can attend school to get extra help. Yeah. You need a diagnosis to get the financial system, to get the help. I had never not worked, Greg, from I was 11 until I moved. I'm in Inishowen 3 years. Mm-hmm. 3 years passed, and it was my first time not having a job. And I always loved my work, but Katrina had to realise work's changing. Ben is now my children and my work, and I do my work to the highest standard. Mm-hmm. Always have, always will.
And you say that that this isn't necessarily about thinking of different ways to recruit people. You say that this is about the state of the country, the cost of living crisis, the amount of pay. You're saying, right, enough is enough. You see, we are in an absolute, I don't think a lot of people realise, but in certain areas of society, many areas, we are in an absolute crisis with particularly in how we are treating and looking after and caring for our children. And this is a very particular area of that. This is a crisis.
It's Greg, I would have kept in contact with a lot of my friends and family in Sulcara, right? I have a friend that has 2 skilled children that have just qualified in occupational therapy and speech and language. They have qualified, but what's keeping them here? The cost of living is too high. They can't buy a house. It's you get the skills, but then boom, there's another thing blocking. Not everybody has that financial.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, stay there, Katrina, if you don't mind. I want to bring in a person who received that letter, pretty much the exact same letter, but in respect to the East Donegal Children's Disability Network team. And it seems that the actual teams are not the issue here. It's the amount of people that they have, because they're seemingly doing the best that they can. Michelle, what does this mean to you? I mean, you say in an email to us that you're heartbroken. So, and I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I really, really am. What's your situation, Michelle, and what does it mean, this letter coming to you?
I had the little girl, Fia, 2 years ago, and she was born with Down syndrome. So initially it was a total shock. But after that then, like, early intervention team came in, but we have never, ever seen a speech therapist, which supposedly you're meant to see from around 8 months to help with eating and movement of the mouth and all. We've never seen an OT. We did have physio up to about a month ago, and it's all gone. So as a parent, now I have to actually train myself in speech therapy, physiotherapy. They do send webinars, but to parents, like, that's not help. We need one-to-one. Sometimes I feel like crying, but I just don't feel that the support's out there for us.
No, we listen. All of us want our best for our children. I was going to say there, and it could go on, but all of us want our best for our children, Michelle. But time is of the essence too, and the right interventions at the right time. Other children in similar situations are getting them elsewhere, but just simply because you live in Donegal or East Donegal, your child is not getting the help they need, and you can't do nothing or anything other than what we're doing now. It is heartbreaking. It's so frustrating.
It is, because you feel like you're letting your children down.
But you're not. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but like, early intervention is key for our kids too. If they don't get it early, like, they're not going to walk. They're not going to talk. We can do so much at our home, but we need the support. We need the one-to-one help and the guidance and all the other support that comes with that. It's just like, and I've only been in this situation for 2 years. I have friends and family out there with autism, cerebral palsy, multiple other issues, and they are lost as well. And it's not fair. It isn't really not fair, because we really need that early intervention, because we want our kids to be the best that they can be.
Early intervention is key. It's key. Early intervention is key. And I cannot hide it this any higher. The earlier it's picked up on, the earlier you get the help, the more you're going to get out of it. Like, there's courses, once you get, and there's courses they facilitate that helps you. There's the Hannon program. There's the Early Bird program. These are there to help. And it's like, Greg, like, I'm still on my journey, and I'll be on my journey until I don't know when. But early intervention is key. Getting that help early is key. The longer that you delay, the more delay you're going to be faced with.
Yeah, Katrina, I get you. But Michelle, like, are we edging towards the new norm then? I mean, like, parents are really busy. We know all of the stresses that we have in this country at the moment. I mean, can parents and guardians and caregivers really take on these professional roles of OT and speech therapy through webinars? And if they get away with it, I just wonder, is this going to be the new norm? By the way, this is all your job now. Here's the webinars. It's crazy, Michelle.
That's so crazy, because, like, these people have, like, been doing this for years and years. Speech therapy is not something you can pick up over a webinar or physiotherapy. And you need to be shown and guided. You can't, like, you need physical hands on the child's body to help you know what way to move it, to help you know, like, it's something you can't do over a webinar. And the 12 months, they're saying this has been going on for the last 12 months. In my world, this has been going on for 2 years. It's been, and people that I've talked to, it's been going on for previous to this. They've actually never got speech therapy before this. So it's not a new thing either. It's not the last 12 months. Like, this has been going on for years, and we don't have years. This is what's upsetting me. I don't have years for Fia. Early intervention is key. I want her to be able to talk when she goes to play school in a year's time. Well, that's my hope, my plan, my hope, but that's all on me now with no training. Do you know what I mean? As what you're saying, am I able to do that? I'll try my best. But it's not as good as a professional, I presume.
Of course, but Michelle, we aren't. I mean, we have our limits as well as to what we can deal with in life, as to what we can actually cope with as well. I mean, all of us have breaking points. Do you know, that's a huge responsibility to be placing on someone's shoulders. Kathy's with us as well. You're affected by the letter sent from Inishowen, and there's something coming through, Kathy, from you and everyone who's affected by this, and it's cry for help, it's desperation, and nothing in terms of weakness, but we all want what's best for our children. But when you get a letter like that to say, I'm afraid nothing we can do, like, we have to try and, you know, it's a desperate situation, Kathy, and good morning to you.
Hi, Greg. Good morning to you too.
I mean,
yeah, we are desperate at this stage, Greg. It's awful. It's sad for our kids, you know. Any parent wants the best start for their child in life. That's all we want. And some kids need help with that. And my little boy Riley, he's 3. He needs help with that. So we need all the help we can get. But it's just the staff are not there to help us. Riley's 3 and he's not talking. He has loads. Sorry, Greg. It is upsetting. Riley's 3. He's not talking yet. Now he has loads of words. He's making good progress, but we need speech therapy to get Riley talking. And we're looking at minimum 2 years. That would make Riley 5. You know, I want Riley to talk. That's all I want for Riley. Riley's such a happy boy. But I want him to be able to talk to me. So we need speech therapy at least, Greg. Mm-hmm. You know, we need help. Somebody needs to help. And you know, Kathy, that this is now where the most benefit and progress will be made. And you want to be able to send him. You want to be able to speak with him, but you also want him to send him into school where he's as close to the level with speech and what have you as everybody else. That's what you want for your young person. But you're being told nothing for at least 2 years. And I think we all know that nothing's going to be there in 2 years because they're still dealing with backlogs from COVID. So, you know, so 2 years is... The timeline is so vague. We don't know, will we get it in 2 years? It's an awful long wait, you know. If you can go private, that's great, but not every family can go private for these therapies, Greg. All right, well, how about this? Let's get that 16 billion that we're saving for a rainy day. Let's pay for the private. Let's. I know it's not a solution, right? And I know we do that in the acute healthcare setting, and it's not ideal. But this is really important. Time is the essence. Can the government then not start financing and availing of private services? If that's what it takes, as I say, we should be investing in public services. Don't get me wrong, but this is desperate times, and we've pulled out desperate measures in the past. Something needs to be done, Kathy, because you, Michelle, and Katrina's situation is slightly different, but she knows more than anyone the importance of this. You're only the voice of thousands of people across the Northwest today. Yeah, I'm sure, Greg. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty in our shoes. There's a lot of us needing help. You know, somebody out there has to be able to do something. The politicians, the councillors. You know, we're begging, Greg, at this stage. We are begging for help for our kids. We really are. Right, okay. Well, I don't know if this... I mean, maybe this is the start of something. I know in the background you're already contacting councillors and TDs. This is part of it going public, but something else has to happen next. I don't want this to be Friday morning, you know, about 10:30, and then that's it. We have to come back to this next week. We have to try and put questions, and we're going to make representations to the ministers responsible. I don't want yous to think that this is the end of it now because you spoke to us today. We have to organise and do something that gets some sort of a resolution to this. Yeah, we have to push for a change, for help. Yeah. All right. Okay, Kathy, thanks. Michelle, did you want to add something? No, I just wanted to say thanks for your time, and hopefully we'll get there. We'll come back to this, though. This is just the first. This is just the first of our engagements. We're going to have to figure something out, because there's no way people can live their lives like that, and there's no way our beautiful children, and with all their differences, that some are treated different to the other, and we certainly can't have a postcode lottery on these types of services for people. And Katrina, and you right from the get-go recognise that you are a step ahead here, but that gives you the perfect position to talk about how important these services are, and whatever it takes to get them to the people that need them. We need to be doing that, Katrina. Yeah, 100%, Greg.
The way I'm going to explain this, right? A mammy is like a kettle boiling on a fire or a stove. The mammy will whistle, the mammy will sing, and by Jesus, she will sing. But you remember, you always add the water when the kettle's boiling to keep that steam going. Keep that singing, keep it going, because if you don't refill the water, mammies will boil dry. And this is it, Greg. This is the point we're getting out there. You may have a child, maybe you have a child that's speaking, maybe you have a child that's not walking. It's about keep going. Fight, and don't take no for an answer. Within reason. I know they're under pressure. And when you get in there, when you get into these services, they will help you. And they'll always help you. Like, I class them girls up in Buncrana as my friends now because they helped me when nobody else could or would.
Okay.
And they helped.
All right.
I'm in a different that there. So, like, just keep singing, keep going. And, like, Greg, you never stop fighting for your child. You never. Keep going.
And you'll do anything for them as well. Katrina, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Michelle, as I say, stay in contact with us. Keep us updated as to
Thank
how
you.
things are moving. I don't know, if you're organising a picket or anything like that, let us know, of course, and we'll let people know if they want to get on board with that. Kathy, same to you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for listening.
I know this is the last thing that you want to do, but it's part of we have to do something. We can't just do nothing. And I know you aren't doing nothing, but I know the last thing you want to do is be on the radio talking about it. Hopefully the right people are listening. Hopefully this is seen as the crisis that it is, and whatever it takes, something is done. Thank you, all three of you.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €105 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
There's always a feeling of anticipation when you sit into a new car. That excitement. You admire its smooth lines, its class-leading technology, its spacious interior. You find yourself sitting comfortably in its sculpted seat. You can sense this one is different. It's electric, charged with attitude, pumped with energy. You've made the right choice. The Opel Mokka Electric. Test drive it today at Heron Auto Opel. See heronopel.ie for details.
Sale, sale, sale. With over €150,000 of reductions across all used stock. This is not to be missed. Test drive any car at iMotors and enter a draw to win €1,000 cash. Yes, €1,000 cash to take a test drive. Ends September 16th. When you buy, choose one of the following offers: 12 months tax, free ceramic coating, 24 months warranty, or your first finance payment covered by us. Low finance rates available. Check our website for all T's and C's. You will not want to miss out. Visit imotors.ie for more details.
Around the Northwest with Oakfest in Oakfield Park, Raphoe on Saturday 9th and Sunday the 10th of September. 2 days of great music including Susie Quattro, the Bay City Rollers, Boys Life and Honor. See oakfieldpark.com.
All right, thanks to you all for texting in. I can safely... This is from Angela Turish, formerly of iCare. She says, I can safely... Oh, maybe this isn't her. It's written underneath it. I can safely say it is, the whole text is her. Angela says, I can safely say in the 23 years iCare has been up and running, HSE services have dissipated and the journey is so much harder for families. It's soul-destroying to hear that families just can't get the support they need. Things are definitely going backwards. It is high time that politicians started taking decisions to help people. We've a very poor political class who seem to be overruled by a powerful civil service, answerable to nobody, interested only in box ticking rather than in helping people, and definitely not interested in problem fixing. And I said there's a bit of a air code lottery to this. Teresa on Facebook: Hi Greg, I just want to say I have a granddaughter who is autistic. She lives in Wexford and the help she gets is unbelievable. She was diagnosed at 2 and is now talking and in mainstream school, albeit with an SNA. She has after school activities not only for her but for her older siblings as well. She has weekend breaks and so much help. It really is a postcode lottery and my heart goes out to those parents who can't get help. That's in from Teresa. Thanks, Teresa, for your kind comments. Lack of early intervention, planning and processes are key to so many terrible issues in Ireland in health, mental health, addiction, abuse, where the longer the problem persists, the more lifetime psychological problems persist. God help the mothers and fathers going through this crisis caused by ineffective government at all levels. Another, we aim for an inclusive society. Neglecting to provide early intervention is going to isolate our children from society and increase their need for health and support in future. And the key word there is our children, because those ladies' children are all of our children, and we should be treating them all equally and giving them all equal opportunity. And I think it's a collective responsibility for all of us to view it like that, and not just have these mothers in this case in a desperate situation doing anything to make their lives better for their children, and to give their children, who are perfectly capable of so much, to give them the opportunity to be that person that they can be. Yes, Greg, and you conclude our young people who are being evicted by landlords so they can get €800 tax-free from the government. Our students can't find places this year either, and all down to the government lifting the ban on evictions. Would love if you could ask a politician, why are they doing this to our young people? The mental stress they have is at a dangerous level. They believe that if they don't do it, the problem will get worse. Parents aren't qualified. I've done all the webinars available. We received a letter saying there is no one or no OT available. It is ridiculous. And other families are having to pay to access these basic services privately, and it's hugely costly. And I don't think public money going into the private services is the future, but something needs to be done in the interim whilst they review how to hire people. And so on it goes. We are going to return to that on Monday. Okay, I guarantee you that. If not Monday, Tuesday when I'm back. It depends. I don't know what Caroline has lined up for Monday, but certainly early next week, we're going to return to that story, and we're going to put a contact into the politicians to see what they have to say, and we're going to contact the relevant arms of the state who are responsible for that to see if they can go beyond that letter, or what measures are being taken to try and address those issues. So we're going to park that there for now, but trust we will be back at that early next week.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram, and have them printed instantly within an hour, or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
The sounds of laughter, the words of a friend, your favorite song. Sounds mean so much to us, and our world grows smaller if we experience hearing loss. At Hidden Hearing, you can trust our expert audiologists to help, with a no-quibble 90-day money-back guarantee to ensure peace of mind. Visit www.hiddenhearing.ie or call 1850 21 44 88. Hidden Hearing. Life is worth hearing.
Join us on Sunday Sport as we bring you the latest from the third round of games. We'll have reports from the games in Glenswilly, Gweedore, Donegal Town and Letterkenny. The Championship on Highland is supported by Highland Motors Letterkenny, with a 100% electric Renault Megane E-Tech, up to 450 kilometres driving range, now available to test drive and immediate delivery.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it's 11:01. Time to get a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A Letterkenny councillor says he has confidence that the Minister for Agriculture will extend the slurry spreading season beyond October 1st if the weather doesn't improve. Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly wrote to Minister Charlie McConalogue following a rise in concerns from farmers that the wet weather is preventing them from spreading slurry. He says land is simply too wet and will lead to water pollution and poor fertilisation results. The bus there en route 32 from Dublin to Lifford will depart from George's Quay due to a road traffic collision. Included in a number of departure changes is the Transit Link bus from Dublin to Derry. This service will now depart from gate 15 at Busaris. These changes are hoped to cease in an hour's time at around 12 noon. Another bank is bowing to political pressure and hiking its interest rates for savers. AIB has become the latest financial institution to raise its saving rates on certain products as well as EBS savings accounts. The bank says it'll increase deposit rates up to 3% for regular savers and AIB fixed term accounts from the middle of this month. 759 home energy upgrades were completed in Donegal in the first half of 2023. That's according to the latest report published by the SEAI. Nationally, almost 22,000 home energy upgrades were supported by government, an increase of 150% on the same time period last year. PSNI are seeking information regarding the whereabouts of a missing Monaghan man known to travel to Derry. 23-year-old Noel Mackin is described as being 6 foot tall, of slim build, but with brown hair and eyes and a pale complexion. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. A photo of Noel is available on our website, highlandradio.com. And finally, Kathleen, Fergus and Jocelyn are among the storms which could hit Ireland this winter. Met Éireann, along with their colleagues in the Netherlands and UK, have confirmed the names chosen for next season's storms. This year, many are named in honour of scientists, including Creasla's Kathleen K. McNulty, hailed one of the mothers of computer programming. That's all for now. We'll be back with news headlines at 12 o'clock. In the meantime, you can keep up to date with local breaking news on our website, highlandradio.com. Until then, good morning.
No Greg O'Donnell in there, I take it?
No, not that. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year there'll be some recognition finally. Thanks, Donna Marie. Just to let you know, by the way, you have less than 10 minutes to get your tickets for the Highland Radio Mega Cash Draw. You can get on our website really quickly, highlandradio.com, buy your tickets there. €10,000 going to be given away in the next hour. If you want to give us a call, we'll try our best to get your tickets processed. 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. But the 10-minute timer has started. If you want to be in with a chance to win, you need to get in touch right now.
Marie's just popped into Eurospar because she forgot to get milk. But she spotted Eurospar's fresh produce range and those biscuits that she likes. Then there was some chicken on offer, which would do for the roast on Sunday. And with super easy offers, she may as well get the kids' lunches. Oh, and just a few toiletries. With a wide range of products, sustainable choices, and a trolley load of value, it's always super easy to shop at Eurospar, your super easy supermarket. Would you like a trolley, Marie?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's been a busy old week, hasn't it? And the last hour of the 9 till noon show of the week is where we sort of disengage a little bit as much as we possibly can. And for some, clearly it is not possible, but just from the trials and tribulations of life, and try and take some comfort in the loving arms of our televisions, the cinema or the stage. And to that end, we're joined in studio by two guests, Michael Leddy, who blogs and writes, and Fionnuala Rabbit, who Fionnula's. Hello. Both of
just
you,
watches a lot of TV.
Thank you both very much for joining us here on the 9 till noon show. It's all very exciting because you're going to be in the presence of a €10,000 winner. None of you have watched yet, or have you, Who is Aaron Carter on Netflix?
No, I did watch a few minutes of it when it was on TV.
What? Is that old, is it?
As far as I'm aware, it's a UTV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was on Virgin.
Okay, it's very good. It's only got 6 out of 10 across ITMB and Rotten Tomatoes, but it's really good. It's a great show.
Is it not already been done, though? Do you remember there was the one that we watched that we weren't that mad about? The woman was, again, had a daughter. They were in the cafe. They were sitting in a cafe, and then somebody attacks them, and then they set in America.
Is it a single person's name? Is it that show?
I think so.
Right,
it was
okay.
set in America. Do you remember? And then she ends up kind of being on the run. There's a whole thing about whether or not she was.
Be that as it may, and this,
FBI, CIA, something like that.
You make a good point, but this is done very well. There's some really interesting relationships and storylines, and it's good. I thought it was really good. It's only 7 episodes, but it's great character, isn't it? And what I liked is you went, oh, they're not going to, there's a plot hole, and they filled it straight away. With the next question, which I thought was great. And also in the first series,
so you wrote this.
In the first series, in the first episode of the series too,
there's no drone footage though. If he did it,
but they do scramble for a gun, which is something I mentioned last
scramble.
week. Yeah, in the first, no one peeks though. Right, anyway. So
do they have any scenes where one person is in focus and the person beside them is not?
No, but there's plenty of drones in it anyway.
That's good to know, because I have to say I just assumed I'd seen it.
No,
do you know what I mean?
It's a very good show. Really good, strong characters, interesting little relationships that are in there, and watched it over 2 nights. Thought it was great. There's so much trash on the table.
There is.
Oh God,
come across something that's middle.
Yeah.
It's not top tier, but it's certainly.
But it does its job.
It does its job. And it does it well, and it kind of sets up for a new series. I'm not sure if they're going to do it right. Okay, so tomorrow is International Cinema Day or National Cinema Day?
Oh.
Is it international or national? Be that as it may, nationally, cinemas are offering seats for €4. Doesn't matter what the film is, what the seats are, whatever. Our local cinemas, of course, are involved in that. We were talking to Mark from Century Cinema yesterday about this. Right, Sound of Freedom. Finally. Now,
have you ever heard of this, Greg?
Sound of Freedom is a film that you've watched, and I want to hear you talk about it, but I want to set it up a little bit because it's a little bit weird. Thought, right, there's an awful lot of talk about this film, so I went on the internet to see what everyone was talking about, and it's a film where people are saying it's a great film that haven't watched it. This is a fantastic film. I can't wait to see it. Okay. Now, you're going to tell us what it's really about, but what I didn't realise is that it's like, this is not to say anyone in Ireland is of this view, but people who support MAGA and who believe child exploitation, child trafficking is being covered up and not talked about, they need to see this film. There's a presumption that anyone who doesn't see the film is not aware of the awful problem of child trafficking and child abuse, and as if they don't care because they haven't seen this film. Now, that was the online discourse, which I thought, right, okay, unbelievable. But what about the film itself, or even talking to that conversation? Fionnuala Rabbit first.
Well, they're kind of for me, they're two separate things, because I went in to watch this movie waiting for what stirred the controversy. And to be honest, nothing in the movie stirs the controversy that you see online. And it seems to be that not the characters in the movie, but the actual real life personalities of both the person that's portrayed, the real life person that's portrayed, and also the actor that portrays him, seems to have interfered with with the movie itself and with people's perception of the movie itself, but to the benefit of the movie. So this is a small independent movie. It cost about 14.5 million, which, to you and I sounds like a lot of money, but in movie terms is basically your child's,
it's nothing.
Pocket
money. Yeah, it's very little money. There has been, in the first kind of week or so that it was out, or over the first weekend, it made like 100 million. So it's creating massive box office thing. But it's also creating an awful lot of backlash as well with it, because there's two different things that are going on with it. One is that there is the money that came together for this was crowdsourced. Now, that's happening with a lot of independent movies, but in this, they're kind of saying that the reason why that happened is there was roadblocks. Roadblocks are put in the way.
Hollywood is involved. This is the premise of it. Hollywood is so involved and entrenched and complicit in the abuse of children and children trafficking that they would never, ever, ever talk about this story. And that finally it took this brave, independently crowdfunded film to shine a light on this, as if everybody else is oblivious to it. That's what I don't get about it.
Well, that's because when you watch the movie, and then at the end of the movie, there is a little thing comes up in the corner and it says, hang on for a special message. Hold on for a special message. So, we're big comic book people. We love a good teaser at the end of a movie.
The credits.
And I was like, what the heck are they going to tease in this movie? And you come on, and Jim Caviezel, which I'm probably mispronouncing his name, he comes on and he proceeds to tell you that unless you donate money to the production company in order to give out free tickets to allow people who can't afford to see this movie, you're basically not interested in stopping
You're
child.
complicit.
Yeah, you're just you don't care about all these millions and millions and millions of child sex traffickers. And if it wasn't for this movie, nobody would know anything about it. And through watching this movie, we are together stopping this awful thing that is happening.
That's a false premise to begin with, though, because I mean, everybody's aware of this stuff. Everybody's opposed to it. Everyone
would assume so.
Of course. Well, it does. It goes without saying, but I'm forced to say it because the position is if you don't support it or you don't watch it or you don't like it, then in some way you're a groomer or something. Do you know what I mean? It's almost in that space.
That seems to be the discussion around the movie. You know what I mean? Is that now the other thing is that, and we were Googling it on the way home, like, where's the money going? So they made 100 million in the first weekend. And the people who donated or crowdsourced the funding, I don't know whether that's called an investment or donation or whatever it is. Apparently, they've gotten their money back. That's the way that it is when you invest in these things. But then after that, then where's all the money going?
I think they're up to 185 now, aren't they? 185 million now, yeah.
But we wouldn't ask that question of any other film.
No, but this movie is saying to you that by going and buying your ticket, by supporting this movie, when you go to this movie, and it's happened in America, and I'm sure it's happened here as well. I don't know the connection with the cinemas, but you can actually buy tickets for other people, so that if I wanted to go and see this movie and I didn't have the price of a cinema ticket, I can just rock up to the cinema and take a free spot. So, and it encourages you to donate towards which basically is to the production company, in order to stop. The way he sort of phrases it is that it's in order to stop.
But does this then, okay, so taking away sort of the polarisation, although it's not, we're all united in this, do you think this in any way, the more people that might see it, Fionnuala, and we're going to come to you specifically on this as well, that it might actually, do you think people might be woken up to this and motivated to put pressure on politicians to say we need to be taking this issue more seriously? Maybe it's they're trying to address an apathy amongst the general population.
To be honest, okay, look at, you have the controversy and then you have the movie. The movie itself,
can we not do the movie yet? Just do the
Well,
controversy.
let's stick with the controversy. Then, to be honest, it sort of falls into one thing with the other, because to be honest, I didn't really get it. That's not really what I got from the story. But I do think, obviously, people will be talking about it. It is a movie that you will be talking about as you're kind of walking out, because yes, we are all aware of it, but obviously when you're watching it on a screen and that kind of thing, where it does kind of bring it into conversation. So it does bring it more to the fore of a conversation. Does it in any way sort of tell you or say to you, oh God, I should be contacting, the World Health Federation or whoever? I don't even know who you should be contacting. And sort of putting pressure on. Are there organisations that you can, join and sign up, like I don't know, NATO or any of those kind of things where they're working hard on it, or UNICEF or anything like that? It doesn't give you any of that kind of information.
Okay. I would have thought, listen, I have no skin in the game here. I haven't seen it. I would have thought, though, that if you wanted as many people to see this as possible, is that you publish it for free on YouTube.
That's exactly,
But anyway, we'll get to the proper film review, because a lot of people, it's around 6, 7 out of 10 for a lot of critics, right? So what do you want to talk to, Michael? Do you want to talk?
Well, talk about
did it move you?
The film itself, just taking the film as a film, right, and forgetting the controversy for a second, it to me is a very average thriller. It felt like a TV movie, or I would even go so far as to say it felt, like I said this to you, I said to Fionnuala outside, it's like a TV pilot. It felt like the first case that this character would take on, where he tracks down a specific missing pair of children, and I almost felt like, I might check it out again next Thursday night and see what the next case is like, see if it's any better. So it feels like a procedural. in the sense that it feels like he's solving a case. And with that, all that implies, and it's not that big, it's not that exciting, it's way too long for what it is. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes for a story. Like I say about a lot of movies, that's like 90 minutes is the max you would need to tell this story. It's not an action movie. There's really no action in it until near the end, and even then that's very realistic type of action. It's not Mission Impossible. It's not all that kind of no. But it's a dull, slow moving. It's largely based on true incidents. It's largely based on a true story. It's heavily fictionalized, but that to me isn't any great red flag, because every film you see that's based on a true story, when you look it up, you'll see it's heavily fictionalized, and that's just to make a story better. So certain things are accentuated and made more exciting, but there's a lot of truth in this movie. Tim Ballard is a real person, and he did do quite a lot of the things that are depicted in this movie. Not quite as dramatically and not quite as succinctly. And the other characters, there's a character called Vampiro, just randomly. That's a real person.
Yeah.
It was a real guy.
So, I mean, obviously we've been receiving quite a lot of communications over the last couple of months saying, why aren't you reviewing this? Why, as if in some way we might be trying to suppress it.
Yes.
You went and watched it the first time. Now, I want to go and get a proper review from Fionnuala, but do you understand why some people might feel that this film is being buried for a reason or other?
I think there is a narrative around it, and I mean, Jim Caviezel himself, the lead, and people connected with the film have endorsed a narrative which leads people to believe that a movie like this is going to be buried by the Hollywood elites.
Hollywood won't make this film.
Yeah. And there's a lot of cases you can put against that and pro that. One of the things I would say, and I think it's great for me to say this because I've often said this, the subject matter of this film, right? The idea that it's groundbreaking, I find that I have been a fan of a show that's been on for 23 seasons called Law and Order Special Victims Unit. At least once a season, sometimes twice a season, they will go into this exact specific subject matter, and for my money, they will do it better.
Okay.
Much stronger and much more emotive. The thing about this film last night is I wasn't emotionally connected. I wasn't, and I am prime.
You're just watching it as a film, obviously.
Yeah, but I could watch a Law and Order episode and have done, which would have the similar thing, and I'd be quite misty-eyed at the end. I'd be like, oh, can Olivia get those kids out? But I wasn't feeling this last night.
So, sorry for interrupting you, Fionnuala.
No,
so,
you're right.
just as a film then, how would you, what was your experience?
Yeah, I agree. First of all, it was about half an hour too long. But as I said, so was Indiana Jones. So, they seem to be set on this time frame now with movies. I suppose, the thing is, you go into it waiting for what's the big controversial moment, and then that doesn't happen. And it's very plodding then, because you're just constantly waiting. There's a lot of it, as Mike says, it kind of makes you feel, at one point he's arresting a guy, and then kind of like 5 minutes later he's taken the guy he's arrested into his confidence, and your man is committing more crimes on his behalf to get him further down the road with this. And you're like, I'm sorry, this guy that arrests you 5 minutes later, you're like, oh yeah, no, you totally only arrested me because you're stuck in this job.
I trust you.
Yeah, I trust you and all this kind of thing. I'm definitely going to procure a small child for you. It's very, and some of the procurement and stuff with the kids.
No, there was some of the audience weren't happy with that. It was clearly some of the language was actually being used in front of these child actors.
There was a few bits of that you just kind of felt, I don't know if they were going to do it. You'd nearly kind of say they should have gone further with it or not gone there at all. Do you know the way they kind of left it kind of hanging in strange places sometimes where it sort of left you feeling uncomfortable.
I thought it was quite sanitized sometimes. I mean, you did see a lot of children crying, you see a lot of tear-stained faces, and you see them being shouted at and bullied a lot, but it's not salacious or sleazy. They don't go there ever.
I think really the way this is being marketed is that you need to watch this, and if you don't watch it, then there's something up with you.
Yes.
And then for a lot of people, it's simply a film, and they'll judge it on it, because what's going to happen in about 5 years, this is going to pop up on ITV4 and people will watch it and won't know any of the marketing that's gone along with it. And
they'll
it'll be viewed in a completely different way.
Context, exactly.
So just in terms of it then as a film, before we take a break, because we have a big business to do today, what would you give it out of 10, Fionnuala?
Yeah, I probably would agree with the critics, I have to say, just looking at it as a film. It's fine. Yeah. You know what I mean? You'll sit there, you watch. It's too long, same way as I would say, as I said, about other movies. But, you know, Jim Caviezel, or whatever, however you pronounce his name, he's very earnest. If anybody's ever seen him in anything, you know, he talks like that when he's speaking. So it's all very... He means it deeply.
He's very, yes.
Everything that happens to him, he means deep. He constantly has a tear in his eye as he's going through it.
Oh, yeah.
He's moved and touched by all of the...
Well, this is what's said at the end of the film. Shall we listen just to a little bit? I can't play it all because of time constraints.
Yes, Sound of Freedom is one of those films that can legitimately change this world. So we want to ignite a fire in audiences and open their eyes to the dark reality of millions of children that need our help. Let's make this film a historic event and the start, the end of child trafficking. Theaters across this country are already selling out. Pre-order your tickets today, and you can send the message.
Yeah, so you can see, I'm not sure if that's the exact thing that's played out at the end of the film.
That's an exact, and you think that is very, worthy. But nowhere can you figure out as in how watching this movie is actually doing that.
Yeah.
You know, there's no list of foundations or organisations. Even Jim Ballard, the one that's character,
I presume they might have a distrust of the established.
But there's no list given.
NGOs.
They have.
Yes.
If you get where I'm
going.
But maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Okay. But there's no even the organisation that Jim Ballard run isn't listed as in you can donate.
Yeah, and he's now left that group under very. I've only found this out this morning. He's no longer associated with the group he set up.
So six out of 10?
6 out of 10 from me as well. I mean, and when I give anything a 6, you know, I'm like saying it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, the same with me. I'd say there's nothing wrong with watching it. I probably would have preferred to watch it at home and on your TV.
Yeah,
even
it's
though
a TV movie.
Don't watch it on your. He actually says
it. Yeah.
Oh no, you need to be watching this in the cinema where you have no distractions and you can fully contemplate the horror that is. But it kind of reminds you a little bit of Taken. You know, that kind of way, and it sort of reaches that point where you're a bit, I don't know.
All right, that's fascinating. Honest reviews, as I say, I suspect neither of the three of us are fully invested in the actual real divisional sort of ideology either side of all of this, other than what we've probably come across, because it seems very American orientated. But anyway, that's interesting. That is finally The Sound of Freedom. It's in Century Cinemas and elsewhere as well, and it will be very well attended, and it will speak to a big audience. But some people might just...
And you can't deny that, like Oppenheimer, it's a talking point film.
Yeah.
You know, whether you agree or disagree, it's something to go to the cinema and then maybe go to the pub and chat about afterwards, or one of
the facts that comes out in it is that apparently there's more people.
What about I meet you in the pub afterwards?
I'm on, definitely.
But one of the points that comes out is, like I said, apparently there's more people in slavery now than there was when slavery was actually legal in the world.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Which is an astronomical figure, and I suppose in one sense the movie is correct in saying maybe we should be sitting down and saying, why don't we, off the tip of our tongue, know the name of an organisation that actually does something about it?
Thousands of women and men effectively slaves in this country right now, working in the sex industry, working in labour as well. I mean, this is not
prevalent.
Something. It's not over there.
No, it's here.
It's a huge issue here in this vicinity where we are. There's people working very horrible jobs that they don't want to. Okay, back with more after these.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Looking for the triple black option. Vans Selden with a leather upper, only €60. Save €15. Adidas and Nike triple black trainers will have you ready for back to school. Kids footwear from Nike, Adidas, Asics and Vans in all sizes. Get the trainer that fits you best by using your safe size experience and get to know your feet. Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure. Click on bmcsports.ie and get your free delivery.
Cash for carbon. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
New EU laws set to pay Irish farmers for carbon captured in hedgerows, trees and soils. Forward store cattle trade on fire. Last chance for farmers to burn bushes before ban. Genotype rams in demand with prices up over €100 per head. And as the CAO offers land, we explore student grants, where to stay and alternative routes to college.
Plus, don't miss your special Back to College guide in this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Why did I choose Ulster? I wanted a university who could give me the biggest possible future, but also the best possible time now. Somewhere I could make friends and have good crack, but also to set me up for the best job possible. I'm planning to take up one of the study abroad options, and then my big plan is to specialise in media law in LA. But for now, NI has one of the lowest student living costs in the UK. So, night markets, here I come.
Learn why over 30,000 students choose Ulster at ulster.ac.uk/go north. Apply now for this September.
Join the team at Homeland Agri Creeslough for their open day this Friday, 1st of September from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. Enjoy great offers, refreshments, advice from their experienced team, spot prizes and much more. Highland Radio's Around the Northwest with John Breslin will also be broadcasting live from the store from 12 till 2:30 p.m. on the day. We look forward to seeing you there.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time's 11:27. Very shortly, one of you is going to be €10,000 richer. If you want to watch the draw, by the way, get onto our YouTube channel right now, Highland Radio Ireland, where you can watch it live. We've been streaming since 9. Where have you been? That's on your smart TV, your Fire Stick, and all your other devices. We're on Facebook as well, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News and Sport. But now we cross to beautiful Dunfanaghy because the Jazz and Blues Festival is running from the 7th to the 10th of September 2023. Eamon McFadden and Aisling Arnold, are you there?
We are indeed, Greg.
Morning, Greg. How are you? Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Is there anything better musically, arguably, than jazz? It's a broad church. There's all different types of music, but there's very little better, is there? I don't know. It's going to be a great 3 or 4 days, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt, Greg. It's as you say, it's hard to beat live music in kind of any form and format that it comes in. And I suppose over the years, Dunfanaghy Jazz and Blues, it's kind of I suppose it nearly exceeds the terms of of the name itself now, because they get all sorts of music at it. Really, jazz, blues, rock is very prevalent as well, and it's a real crowd pleaser as well. But there's kind of a scope for everything in it as well. So there's, I suppose, all in all, there's probably nearly 70 gigs over the 4 days.
And Aisling, how is it set out across the town?
So I suppose, Greg, there's 9 venues, and it's spread out over the course of the weekend. So there's music essentially happening all day, every day. It starts on Thursday evening at 5 p.m. and it runs right through until Monday, and the last gig is 9 p.m. And I suppose over the middle of the weekend there in particular, as I said, there's daytime gigs right through all venues, and it's it's absolutely fantastic because you can walk to all the venues, and it's a brilliant asset to the village now at this time of the year.
Yes, actually, it comes just at, doesn't it, the end of the season now. We hope the season's extended ever closer to Halloween. But, the big numbers are fading somewhat now. This just comes at a really good time as a boost for the area and the surrounding areas as well, because people will stay in the locality for just at the right time, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is huge for tourism in the area. And as you rightly said, the surrounding areas, because people just don't... come to Dunfanaghy for this festival. They stay in Creeslough, Downings, Falcara, so the surrounding areas are getting a spin off from this as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Extending the season, as you said, is so vitally important because it would have typically here in Dunfanaghy been a huge drop off at the end of the summer months. So something like this is keeping the crowds coming to the area, which we're absolutely delighted about.
Now, Eamon, we have some of the best people in these genres living and operating in and around the Northwest. And of course, then you can welcome and host people then from further afield. So there's a fantastic array of artists performing all of these gigs over the 4 days.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. You're right. There's the best of all the local talent that we have here in Donegal, and there's plenty of that. I mean, that's a great basis to get the thing going. We have national acts coming across. We have some bands from Cork, Dublin, coming from everywhere. But we've got a few artists as well coming from overseas this year, which has always been the case since the festival more or less got going. Porter McClister's coming in from Nashville for it. Mr. Castle he's originally from Venezuela, so he's touring here as well. And there's even the likes of the Frank Carberry Blues Band are bringing a real deal blues harmonica player from Chicago who's coming to join them. And he's just a friend of theirs. They were playing anyway, so he's coming to join. So I think the lure of the festival maybe is helping to attract a few bigger names for us as well, which we're very grateful for.
Yeah, fantastic. It's really establishing itself, and it's not going to cost people an absolute fortune to go and enjoy the cream of the crop here, is it, Aisling?
No, absolutely not. I would say it's one of the only live music festivals that is a free event. There's one ticketed event throughout the course of the weekend, but everything else is absolutely free of charge. So I think that's a huge selling point for the area as well, and for the festival itself.
And it's not just the music. Obviously, the music is critical. It's the buzz of something like this that it brings with it as well. That's what's going to be in and around Dunfanaghy from the 7th to the 10th. There's going to be some brilliant music, but there's going to be a cracking buzz as well.
Absolutely, and there's a spin-off there for the rest of the businesses within the area as well. It's not just the music venues themselves. It's drawing that crowd to the area again, and as you said, the buzz and it is absolutely fantastic, and it always is. And if the weather holds up for us, it's even better again. Right. Well, it is going to hold up. I'm confident it is. Well, I hope so. Anyway,
word, Greg, good man.
Eamon, I mean, if it was me, I would just turn up and sort of happenstance different gigs and what have you. But people, aficionados too, are going to want to plan what to go and see and what to watch. So, is there a program available or a place people can go to find out what's on where?
Yeah, well, the way it is, Greg, with the nature of the free event, we have a full program of events that it's one of the few things we charge for, which is just €2 for a program, and that goes towards supporting the event. As I said, there's almost 70 free concerts here, so it's one thing. So we are putting out some information on all the bands on our social media as the time goes on. But really, we're asking if people could support us with just a couple of euros to buy a program when they get here. That'll really detail all the venues, the times, the artists, and everything out there. And it makes for a good souvenir as well.
Well, that's it. We've lost the art of keepsakes and souvenirs. A lovely thing to have in €2. You're not. And do you know what? I didn't say as part of my question that all the events were free, bar the one, of course, because I couldn't believe it. But you have confirmed it in the answer yourself. So it's amazing. And I hope you have a fantastic few days. And hopefully we'll get to go up ourselves and have a look around and listen to some brilliant music. It is the Jazz and Blues Festival, Dunfanaghy. It's running from the 7th to the 10th of September. Eamon McFadden, Aisling Arnold, both of you, thank you so very much indeed for your time.
Thanks so much.
Take care of yourselves. See you in Dunfanaghy.
I hope to get up there. I really do, if I can get planning permission. Right, we'll be back with more after this break, and not only more, €10,000 more.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Dunstore's Double Savers gives you new ways to shrink your bill. Save in the aisles on fresh ingredients for delicious teriyaki salmon bowls. Step 1. Pick up a 2-pack of salmon darns, just €4. Step 2. Marinate, then sear in a hot pan. Step 3. Steam your broccoli and cut a 69-cent avocado. Step 4. Serve over basmati rice, just 65 cents for 250 grams. Then save at the till with our 5 off 25 grocery vouchers. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop for €25 or more.
Looking for the best place in the Northwest to get a bed or mattress? Restex Beds and Mountaintop Letterkenny has a great selection and great prices. Restex Beds has everything you need for a good night's sleep. Visit them today and sleep better tonight.
Due to popular demand, iMotors have extended their sale until the 30th of September with over €150,000 of reductions across all stock. This is not to be missed. At iMotors, test drive any car and enter our draw to win €1,000 cash. Yes, €1,000 to take a test drive. Ends the 30th of September. When you buy, choose one of the following offers: 12 months tax, free ceramic coating, 24 months warranty, or your first finance payment covered by us. Low finance rates available. Check our website for all T's and C's. You will not want to miss out. Visit imotors.ie for more details.
The Donegal Cheviot and Cheviot Cross Breeders Group will hold their annual sale of Cheviots, Cheviot Mules, Suffolk Cross Cheviots and Cheviot Cross Blackface Hoggard Ewes and Ewe Lambs on Friday the 1st of September at Stranorlar Mart. Sale is at 6 p.m. The sales will also be online on the Mart I app. This ad is kindly sponsored by Lynch Brothers Northwest Plant Hire Limited, Buncrana.
I see you all creeping onto the social media to watch the big draw. Either you're all very excited or you don't trust Fionnuala. I would say it's the first.
It's the latter.
Now in the process of, we're going to be doing the draw now. So if you want to watch it as a say, listen, you're more than welcome. Stay where you are in Radioland. But if you want to watch it, highlandradio.com is the website. Watch live there, or YouTube Highland Radio Ireland. I'm going to go with Ireland. Right, Fionnuala. So this is it now, the culmination, the €10,000. We've already had 4 lucky winners now of the €2,500, and now it's the big one. It's
they've been great. The winners have been spread across the county as well, which is always good. It's good to see that it's diverse through our listenership and that in the area. You're very lucky, this 10,000, because my cousin's husband is trying to get me to go on a cruise to South America, which coincidentally
Can I just make one thing?
would be in or around that kind of money.
I don't know what way you can't do things to make money for yourself so you can go on cruises. It is a competition for our listeners, and we give the money to our listeners.
But I was tempted.
No, you can't.
I was tempted to think that
And
Mary McGilligiddy from I was trying to find where would be a remote area.
Yeah,
that
but
people,
knowing you'd be Joanna Rabbit from Galway.
No,
I just didn't think it through.
What's a really remote area in Donegal where nobody would know that Mary McGilligiddy doesn't actually live there and hasn't actually won the money?
Right, okay.
I really want to see South America, Greg. It's not fair.
Well, you're going to have to get a credit union loan like the rest of us. Right, we are going to be using this camera. So if you want to position yourself as such. So Fionnuala now is going to her. She's cleaning off the trombola, if you don't mind.
It's my favourite colour. All right,
we'll
give it a bit of a wait round just to make sure that everybody knows. Pray that more doesn't go on me.
Okay, and it has been heavily rotated and...
all right.
Yeah, ready to go. We're watching you. Unscrewing it.
And then I broke it.
I managed to do that this morning without incident.
I know.
Sean Quinn was at. Do you have to undo the screw slightly?
Maybe
yes. That's it. Okay. Now open her up, and
right.
Fionnuala now is looking away and placing the hand in. Someone is on the verge of winning €10,000.
And the winner is
the number. Let me see. 2773. 2773. If you want to edge a little bit closer so everyone can pick that up. 2773. That number is associated with a name. And that person, I was going to say you can put it back in now, but that's the last of the draws. That person, whoever it might be, 2773, is just about to win, or has just won, €10,000. Are you all right there?
Oh, yeah.
You seem to be shifting
around. It doesn't like to be too far away from
Well, I wanted to. Exactly.
Well, I positioned this camera over here.
So I didn't have to move.
Right.
All right.
So, what... Oh, I'm not going to ask you. You're going to buy a comic or some crap like that there.
I know.
Well, that's what you do with the 10,000.
Nothing.
I would buy a comic, yeah. What do I do there? I don't know.
First edition Spider.
Well, I would donate to the Send Fionnuala to South America fund.
You wouldn't mean...
Oh, everybody should donate to it. It'd be awesome. It's part of my How to Be a Tyrant. This is why I'm watching those programs on Netflix.
You're not finished watching that? Is that on
How
over?
to Be a Cult Leader. I have finished them, yeah. They're both
so have you
very
taken notes?
educational. I know, but this is all how I can start my own fundraising.
You would go on this cruise. That's just cool.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big believer in that money that falls into your lap should be blown.
Yeah, I suppose.
I'm very much, yeah.
But 2 of the 4 winners of the $2.5 grand so far, at least 2.5, the 2 that I've been privy to that I've heard, one had just come back on holidays and one this morning's was actually currently on holiday. But it is a popular time to go on holiday, don't get me wrong, but it was just an interesting aside. So we'll see if we can get the winner on. As I say, it's not part of the competition. You don't have to come on and answer after 3 rings or anything. That money is yours now, but it would be lovely to share the love with you. 07491 25,000 if you want to call us. If we can't get through to you. Right, shall I get to some comments and then we'll take a break. Ferris Bueller's Day Off with Donegal man Matthew Broderick as it's a classic 80s film. Tonight, strangely enough, after midnight in Film 4, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a comedy of my youth and there's a handful. I thought it was amazing. I wanted to steal my parents' car. I thought it was okay to do so. I didn't. But
who didn't think that you could put the car in reverse and the odometer would go backwards?
No.
It just was awesome.
Aaron Carter. You know what I think Aaron Carter's going to be? I think Aaron Carter's going to be a water cooler show that lots of people enjoy and they tell other people about it. A listener says, Aaron Carter was excellent. I thought great characters and twists. Looking forward to series 2. Hopefully grows on you as it goes on. I'll give it 8 out of 10. It does grow on you. The lead character she's endearing. There's something about her. She's got a daughter they've got a really interesting relationship, and the daughter's a brilliant actress. She's got a neighbour who has a really sort of complex and funny and interesting and sort of almost real but lovely relationship. Her husband, it feels very real. You know what I mean? It's a good show. I don't want to overstate it either. Another caller says, I'm watching Who is Aaron Carter? Excellent programme. Eilish in Ealing. See you on Sunday. Hi, Eilish. Eilish. E-I-L-I-S-H. Eilish. Because Eilish would be A-I-S-L.
No, E-I is pronounced A, I think.
Oh, McDonald. Anyway, Eilish, I look forward to see you in Ealing as well because we're broadcasting live from the Irish Vintage show.
Why do I never get invited to these things? Michael and I could totally go out there and do the show.
You need to do what other people do. Invite themselves. Hi, Sean. There's Sean Quinn. I didn't see you there, Sean. Sorry, I genuinely didn't see you there. By coincidence, I should mention Sean Quinn's coming with us as well.
A very valuable use of his time.
Yes, indeed. And we're broadcasting live from 12 noon to 2 p.m.
I know, it's always a good event.
Exactly. And as I say, there's so many people from our part of the world over there.
It's always amazing when you go over there. You see so many, meet so many Donegal people. But then you meet Donegal people everywhere.
Of course.
It's kind of one of the things that came up even after.
Even when you don't want to.
Yeah.
Little sneaky trip away, you know.
I don't know what you'd be doing. Mine is all above board.
Right.
But no, you always meet them everywhere.
Shall we announce our winner? The person is not available to speak to us, but that's fine. As I say, it's not part. Where am I here now? 1 second. I had a song lined up. It's disappeared. Still haven't fully worked out that new system. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Noreen McCafferty.
Lovely.
Bought her ticket for another McCafferty. And they're from Killylaston in Letterkenny. It's number Dara, thank you. Dara McCafferty, Killylaston, Letterkenny, ticket number 2773. Congratulations to Dara McCafferty, whose name was on the ticket. That ticket was bought by Noreen McCafferty. So earlier on, we had another ticket bought by a person going to someone close to them. Yeah. Dara McCafferty has just won €10,000. We'll still try and see if they'll come on before the end of the show, but as I say, you don't have to. That money is there now, and we'll get it to you. So just to recap again, ticket number 2773 was purchased by Noreen McCafferty, and that ticket was bought for Dara McCafferty, Killylaston, Letterkenny, who now has €10,000. Feels amazing, doesn't it?
Oh, I know, it's fantastic.
Lovely. Okay, brilliant stuff.
Brilliant.
And that's it. That's the end of the mega summer cash draw giveaway. We gave the money away on the first day of autumn. Presume it's a coincidence. We don't really have that level of complexity in our thoughts, do we? that we.
I like the idea that we do, though.
Yeah.
It could totally be fun.
You could spin it so that you did. You were like, well, we set out to do this.
Well, I'll tell you what.
12 months
No,
ago.
I was thinking more about back to school. 'cause
When
I'm
we
saying
edit
that's what
this,
you kind of-
when we edit this, we'll pretend.
When it goes
we
out
did it on
live.
purpose.
Yeah, when it goes out live
When
later.
it goes out live later.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Now, as well, before I take a break, I'm inviting you to join John and our team at Homeland Agri in Creasla. It's their open day today, and the weather is lovely for it as well. It's really still, and as the day progresses, it's only going to get brighter. It's running from 10 a.m, so it's underway now, and it's running until 4 p.m. And the team at Homeland Agri Creasla and us are inviting you to come down and receive great offers in store, refreshments, advice from their experienced team, spot prices, and so much more. So if you're in the area, come and say hello. We genuinely would love to see you. Neve's down there. Kevin's down there, and of course the man himself, John Breslin. It's around the Northwest, live from Creasla today. Come down, say hello, give us a wave, and all that jazz. And Homeland Agri in Creasla, they're going to have great offers in store, refreshments, and you can chat to the team, because we talked to about the gardening slot, and a lot of these places, all of them, have got brilliant professionals in there that can answer all of the intricacies of your questions as well too. So get on down.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
We go through a lot to connect with our family. That's why Vodafone Red Family now rewards you with a minimum of €20 off every month when you add broadband to your plan. So moments like getting the dog they desperately wanted can be more rewarding after you've fed it, walked it, cleaned it, played with it, walked it, taken it to the vet, and walked it again. Search Vodafone Red Family or go in store. Vodafone. Together we can.
Offer subject to being a third to sixth connection joining a Red Family account on a Bill Pay Mobile or Vodafone Home Broadband plan. For full terms, see vodafone.ie/Red Family.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
Join us on Sunday Sport as we bring you the latest from the third round of games. We'll have reports from the games in Glenswilly, Gweedore, Donegal Town and Letterkenny. The championship on Highland is with Highland Motors Letterkenny. Travel in style and comfort class in the Citroën C5 Aircross. Available for immediate delivery in diesel, petrol and hybrid.
So if you're a forecaster, especially one of the top forecasters in Ireland, you can sort of get a reputation of being a bearer of bad news in our part of the world. But Alan O'Reilly of Coral Weather joins us now, and maybe the mood might be a little bit different, at least in the short term. And look at all those tents behind you, Alan O'Reilly. Are you at Electric Picnic? How are you getting on?
How are you doing, Greg? Yeah, I'm at Electric Picnic. I'm in the Pink Moon, so the tents are a little bit more organised than you might see in the general campsite. But yeah, it's lovely, and the sunny spells are coming down here, so it's lovely.
It's big news for that festival. We'll talk about it because there's a lot of people be travelling down. The one thing you can't predict with a big outdoor event is the weather. Are they going to get lucky?
We have a risk of some very heavy showers today. They're going to be localised. They're going to be very heavy. So if we can miss those, we're going to be okay. But there is a risk of a heavy shower today. But then once we get into the weekend, it's looking great. Really, for all parts of the country. Now, Donegal might see a little bit more cloud maybe than some other areas. A little bit of patchy low cloud, maybe drizzle possible in the northwest. But generally, I think it's going to be a good weekend. Temperatures getting up to 21, 22, maybe even 23 degrees by Sunday. So it's, yeah, for festival goers here, it's going to be a cracking weekend. But right across the country, it's going to be a great weekend. And then as we head into next week, that little ridge of high pressure, back to school weather looks like it's going to stay with us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Possibly some showers moving up Thursday, Friday. But I think we might even stay dry, especially in the northwest, for right into Friday. And believe it or not, even getting up to 25 degrees in Donegal by probably maybe Wednesday. So
are you sure that you're not? What are you drinking down there, or what? Are you on something? What do you mean?
No, I haven't had
25 degrees in Donegal.
Honest to God, yeah. It's going to get up to 23, 24, might even touch 25 degrees. We have Storm Franklin, or Hurricane Franklin to tank, actually. It's steering up some high pressure to give us that back-to-school weather that everybody talked about. It's becoming a real thing, I think.
And come here, who are you looking forward to seeing, Alan?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's kind of one of those things where I go to the smaller stages and find loads of different things. Billie Eilish on the main stage, probably have to catch a bit of that, to be fair, and it'll be a lovely evening here. It might be 9 degrees in the tent, so I might have to put on the woolly hat to keep me warm.
I have no sympathy for you. Get out, enjoy yourself, Alan. Thanks so much. Lovely to see you. Take care of yourself. Alan O'Reilly of Carlow Weather live there at Electric Picnic. Were you a huge concert goer? Fionnuala, did you do the festival scene much?
No, to be honest, they were kind of after my time anyways. I have a couple of family members now that are heading down there as well. One of my cousins is a guard and he's working down there. I'm like, oh God.
Because the people you've seen live are the who's who, like, I mean, it's all the greats, all the legends.
Yeah, no, we had a thing that we missed the Walrus of Love. He came and we wouldn't go and see him because he passed away. And we didn't go and see him because it was on in Vicar Street on Valentine's Day, and then he passed away shortly afterwards. So we said we'd never miss anybody again. So yeah, I've seen Barbra Streisand and Pavarotti.
You've seen Whitney Houston?
Billy
who
Joel.
else have you seen? Elton John?
I've seen Elton John 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. George Michael?
Celine Dion. Saw George Michael once, yeah. Madonna.
See what I'm saying? Michael, you know what I mean? You festivals?
Tom Jones.
No.
Awesome.
I mean,
no.
I only started going to concerts.
Take that 11 times.
Yeah, it was never.
We've set her off now.
I know, but it pulls me onto the thing because the new Take That music is on Amazon.
Best?
Oh, I absolutely. Oh, it depends.
No, doesn't. Who's the best?
I know it actually does, because you see lots of different things. Like, I went to see Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan was great. You know, he's a genius, and you're sitting there. But it was like 4 songs in before we worked out who on stage was Bob Dylan, because he wasn't even turned.
That's a problem.
That says more about you.
It was everything. He wasn't even facing the stage. But went to Barbra Streisand was amazing.
Could you spot her on the stage?
Rod Stewart,
Can I ask a question? Is Barbra Streisand alive?
Yes.
See, I have this awful thing, and I mean this with no disrespect, that sometimes when celebrity passing is announced, it's like a double emotion, because initially it's like, oh, they're alive, and then, oh no, I just found out they're dead.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. You haven't heard from them in a while.
So long. Kevin from Dunlow, before I forget, International Cinema Days on Saturday for just €4. So last chance for Barbenheimer. Watch Barbie afterwards; it'll soothe the brain. I saw Camp Theatre last week. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Hadn't realised it was written by the Bears' Molly Gordon and her childhood friends. They did something similar when growing up, and clips of them when younger. Okay. Still savouring the bear. If you get past the 7 fishes and family, Richie finds his purpose in next episode. Forks and throw in some Tate too. Not bad. Regarding Sound of Freedom, Corey Feldman mentioned something similar, and probably Weinstein too, that a long time ago on the LLS, as he was a child star in Hollywood. Kevin Dunlow. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, then you've got Mel Gibson threatening to blow the whistle and all of that, and that kind of all feeds into it. All right, okay, I'll get to you. Right, we've done that. So we've done Sounds of Freedom.
Yes.
Shall we stick with the cinema because it's Cinema Day?
Sure.
Did you both go to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? Another incarnation of it?
Yes, it's the 7th one in the franchise, but it's a reboot. It's a fresh start.
The problem is, though, it's Turtles.
It is Turtles. I had never seen any of the movies.
The world's moved on.
He has never seen
I have never seen any of the movies. I had never seen the movies. I saw the trailer. The trailer looked good.
Someday we should take this show to Leitrim just to find out
what was going on, yeah. And wasn't I excited? I was like, we got to see this. So I really wanted to see this, and I was not disappointed. It's a very funny animated movie, and the style of the animation, it's a rough hewn sort of style. And it looks great. It's different. Yeah, it's
very comic book. Actual.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very different. Yeah.
So they're not going for the
smooth, or it's not 3D or a computer.
The way
they're
the
not
last
in real
ones
world.
that have done, no. It's a cartoon.
It very much looks like a comic book, sometimes brought to life. This movie has been embraced. Critics have embraced it. It's got 90 something from critics. It's got 90 something from audiences here. 97 from critics, 91 from audiences. You have Seth Rogen, so it's a Seth Rogen movie. He's the guy behind it.
Seth Rogen is the.
He's the guy he's high a lot. He's the guy.
That's all.
That's what he is. He's high. He talks about it quite openly.
There is not one film where he doesn't make a joke about drug use.
Yes.
Does this film conclude without any reference to drug use?
I think there is, yeah, because it's quite, it's bound
nothing that stands out the way he normally does.
Not normally.
Nothing that stands
but Maya
out
Rudolph is John Cena. Ice Cube is brilliant in this. Jackie Chan is really good in this. Great voice cast. It looks amazing. And I found it hilarious. That was my review.
You had never seen one before?
I had never seen one before, so it was all new to me.
She's seen many.
She was able to tell me. She was able to tell me what the film got wrong. It was like
a turtle in a half shell.
You've obviously seen a couple of them as well.
There's been so many proliferations of it, like between the TV programs and the movies and the whole thing. And I've probably seen them all at one point or another. Definitely think I've seen all the movies. I look at. It's very nicely done. I do think the way that the drawing
and the bot coming here.
Yes, there is.
Really.
It is very nice.
Often enough. Just get on with the bot.
It's very nicely done. The cartoon, the drawing and that kind of thing. It reminds me, and obviously I don't know enough about it, but it's that more kind of a Japan-looking style of the cartooning. You know what I mean? It's not as you say, they're not anthropomorphizing them, kind of making them more human sort of thing. They're more bringing the humans into the cartoons. The only thing I will say about it is that no.
Yes.
The story, it's the exact same story.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you've seen this, like this is something that if you have watched it over the years. Now, kids coming along probably haven't seen it.
And me.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have sort of fallen to one side. I know my 11-year-old nephew would have known about them, but I doubt the 4-year-old does. So I think it's probably going to bring a whole new generation back into the fold with them again, and it's got the...
And the thing about this movie too is that the producers of this movie, it's part of the deal. The movie is in the cinema, but they've also been confirmed and greenlit for a 2-season TV show. So this not the same voice cast, but this show now will lead to a TV series.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting where they go with it, because it in the past it's always been very kind of jokey and funny. There's always been that. There's much less of that in this slightly darker edge to it. Now, not in any way that you wouldn't let kids watch it or anything.
I know exactly
but just in comparison to the previous ones,
the big monster is quite, dark.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would you give it out of 10, Mr.
I'd give it a good old 8 because I laughed and I was like, I want to see more.
All things considered, with all the caveats, Fionnuala, what would you give this film out of 10?
I could definitely give it a 7 or an 8. Like they did a good job of it. It's really good. It will bring new people into it. It's just, as I said, you're kind of watching it going, I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much indeed to Michael and Fionnuala Leddy and all of you who listen to the show. Congratulations again to our €10,000 and thank you to all of you who took part in that wonderful competition over the last number of weeks. Please tune in between 12 and 2 on Sunday. All being well, the plane takes off and lands. We're going to be broadcasting live from London. There'll be some exclusive online content before that, so set the notifications on Highland Radio News and Sport on Facebook and Highland Radio Ireland on YouTube for some exclusive pre-show content. And then I'll be back with you on Tuesday. Donald's in for me on Monday. Have a lovely weekend. Stay tuned. John Breslin's live from Creasler after these.
The 9 till